And look who's joining us, the one and only Rex Smith. Hey, Rex, it's good to see you. Thanks for joining us here on the Jim Master Show. A real pleasure to have you here, my friend.
Well, except no substitutes. Um, I really enjoyed the little caricature at the start. I thought I was going to get one too. I mean, I've got one hanging in Sardi's, and I thought maybe I could add yours to my collection. But
That's a really cool thing. People always ask about that show open.
yeah, it's good.
When we were redesigning it a couple of years ago for the series, a friend of mine is an illustrator, and he has done Betty Boop for 20 years. As a matter of fact, involved with the Broadway play that just happened in New York.
Oh, okay.
And he does
Did
all
that
kinds.
happen? Did that go? What
That
happened?
went. Yeah,
Okay.
it went. It sure did. And
Cool.
so he's illustrated all kinds of massive projects. And I said, we want to, do a new open and create a logo. So he created their logo, and he said retro was in. So he created the logo. And I said, is there any way we could animate it? He says, oh, well, I'm not an animator. I'm an illustrator, but my daughter who's doing work with Jimmy Fallon on The Tonight Show, maybe we can get her to bring the logo to life, pop out, spin with the music, the whole bit. And his daughter actually did it and put it together with his illustration. And the beginning part with the sketching and the I, Jim a Genie bottle and all that, that is actually him doing that, and
Okay.
married the parts together, and then
Neat.
had custom music, and then boom, there it is.
Boom. There you go. Yep.
We're talking about award-winning television, film, and stage star extraordinaire, singer extraordinaire, the one and only Rex Smith joining us here. Truly an honor. So many people very excited that you're here, very excited that you're joining us. And you and I were chatting backstage. We had an opportunity to meet. And I have to tell you, Rex is one of the most affable, nicest guys on the planet. He greets everybody, says hello to everybody. He's always been true to his fans too. We had an opportunity to meet as we were part of a very special evening at the Schubert Theater, the 100th anniversary gala, which was an extraordinary night. And here's a photo from that night of myself. There's Rex and the lovely star of stage and screen and so much more, Betty Buckley, joining us as well at that gala. That was quite a night, wasn't it, Rex?
It was stellar. And, it was sort of Schubert kind of awarded us, sort of both of us. And the interesting thing that about my association with the Schubert in New Haven, which was the starting point, everybody, it's where Broadway shows went to do the editing and rewriting tunes and hiring and firing before you hit Broadway. And I've done 5 shows at that theater. So I think I might be one of the person that had, worked in that theater than, I don't know, maybe Al Jolson. But I did, a lot of national tours. That started out, we would start there. And so, from Greece to Kiss Me Kate, whatever, went through there. And it's very impressive because 5 of my shows, they have artists draw the posters, backstage and underneath the theater, and to see all that, I was proud to have some family there and such, and it's always fun to put on the tux, putting on the Ritz. It's cool.
Yeah, you sure did. You were very spiffy that night. And not only you, and of course, the lovely Betty Buckley, but your son is there as well. And
Yeah.
he's with my friends Galina and her husband and the group of us there. He's looking pretty spiffy, Brandon, as well.
He's wearing that's my tuxedo from the musical Sunset Boulevard. I
Oh, it
gave it
is.
to him. Yeah.
How
So
cool
that's the Joe Gillis tuxedo.
How
And
cool. Wow.
650 shows in that tux. So
Wow.
it's
That's
got
incredible.
and it's such fine material. It still looks like the day I put it on. I mean, it is the finest tailored suit you could possibly get.
There's a shot from Sunset Boulevard. Right
Yeah,
there.
Sunset
The whole group,
with
huh?
Diane Carroll.
Yeah.
650 shows.
What was
And
it like being in that with everybody?
well, originally I was taking over the LA company with Faye Dunaway. And I rehearsed 5 weeks with Faye. and it was looking a little, it was getting a little wobbly. And we were doing the most expensive day that you can have in a musical, which was the put in with the cast, full orchestra, full sets, full complement of backstage, makeup, lighting. And we did the first act. And every day I would come in and the girl would bring me a peach iced tea, a tuna fish sandwich, and ruffled potato chips. And that day she came in and handed it to me. She said, "That's $7, $7.50." And I went, "Well, I guess the free lunch is over," jokingly, but apparently the free lunch was over. We did the first act. And when I was at intermission, I was shoving that tuna fish sandwich in me like ravenous. And I've got my cheeks full like a chipmunk of chips and tuna fish. And the assistant came in and said, "Trevor wants to speak with you," and Trevor Nunn, the director. So, I go, okay, I go, and he's in a dressing room and the lights are turned way down low. And he's like, "Sit down, Rex." And I go, I kind of knew what was coming. He said, "Rex, Faye's never going to do this show." And I was like, I mean, yeah, I'm waiting for literally, truthfully, I'm waiting for him to say, "So we're bringing in Betty Buckley." Really, that's what I was expecting. But he said, "So we're closing on Sunday." And the world went slow motion. And he said, "Do you need to call someone?" I said, "I need to bring my mother back to life." Um, so at that time, I walked out of there. I was sort of like the kid in the Pied Piper. I wasn't going anywhere. And I'll never forget, there was a guy in the show because they were all going to New York and there was going to be a new cast included, but we hadn't started rehearsal with them. So this was a put in for us to get the shakedown cruise. We were actually going to run with the show for a while. And while they were setting up in New York. And I remember a guy was on the payphone going, honey, they closed the show, but don't worry, we're going to New York." And I'm going, "Yeah, I'm not going to New York." And so I went upstairs because the dressing rooms were downstairs. And on the stage, there's a girl auditioning. And it was the most bizarre thing. They just pulled the plug on the show. And the girl's singing a song, and she came off looking at me with that kind of 1,000-yard stare, like only an actor auditioning on a stage can look. And I walked out there and they didn't really realize who I was at first. They thought maybe here's the next person auditioning. I said, "I don't know what the I'm not going to finish the word is going on here, but is anybody going to say goodbye?" And Trevor came up and he said, Rex. I was in shock now. He's going, "Rex, you're going to lead this company wherever we go. The next one, wherever in the world." I said, "I'm ready to lead it right here." And I was so out of it. I said, I don't need her. I'll just give me the monkey. That's all I need. I can do this show. Anyway, so the show was closed. And I was later, 3 days later, I was like the Manchurian Candidate. I was burning the script in my barbecue. And my future ex-wife came out and said, "Tommy Tune's on the phone." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Rex, do you want to play Danny Zuko again?" Because I was the last original. That was my first Broadway experience, was an open call for anybody in New York. And I went and did it and got the job out of about 1,500 guys. And oh, there you go. There you go. And that's
What
Annie Get Your Gun up there. You've got it all.
what was it
So,
like when you got that call for Denny Zuko? I mean, wow.
well, I told him, Tommy goes, you want to play Danny again? Now, I'm 39 years old. I'm 23 in that one,
Yeah.
that shot. And I said, I'm ready to play Marilyn Monroe in Bus Stop. Just give me a polka dot dress. And so I hit the road and it became the #1 show on the road. It was a huge smash. And while I was in rehearsal, Garth Drabinsky, they requested me on lunch break to go over to another theater. I think he had one of his shows playing. And it was a naked stage. I got up there and sang Sunset Boulevard. And he said, "Okay, you got the part." And I remember came running out of that theater. Now I'm in rehearsal to go on tour in Greece. I got Sunset lined up. And I remember there was a lady, we were both grabbing the cab at the same time. I said, "Be my guest." I said, I just got Sunset Boulevard. And she was like, "Oh, that's wonderful." It was my life has had a couple of those New York moments, which the Greece moment was, if I'm talking too long, whatever, let me know if you got other things to say, because they
We're
all hook up.
loving these stories, and everybody's saying hello. All the viewers are welcoming you too, Rex.
Good,
So good
good.
stuff. Yeah, we love.
Well, here we go. Let me just set you up on this, how I got Grease. I had, look, I was signed by Lieber and Krebs, who managed Aerosmith, Ted Nugent, Scorpions, everybody. Biggest managers in rock and roll, 1976. I was 20 years old, through all sorts of adventures that I got myself in there, sold myself to them, and I signed a 6 album deal with Columbia Records. I had 5 weeks to write and record my first album, put a band together. He said, "What's the name of the band?" I said, "Rex." He says, "I like that." And I did, for 2 years, 2 6-month tours. I was opening act mainly with Ted Nugent on 2 of the biggest tours. I was being groomed to be the next Aerosmith. So here I am in total rock and roll. My first 2 albums, Rex and Where Do We Go From Here? Oh, and there's Rex. Yeah, there he is with the little halo head. I came out the same week as Prince. And so anyway, just to put you in the thing. So here I am, good time rock and roll. I mean, a rocker personified, my dream, my rock and roll dream. I wrote a song called that. It was coming true. And I played the last concert with Leonard Skinner before, on my second tour, before Ted and Skinner and I played Madison Square Garden. And they had the plane crash, and I became top bill. And you was a baby band. I was playing like 45, 50-minute sets, and I played an hour and a half set and got 2 encores. And Ron Delsner, the promoter of all the big shows, came backstage and said, "Kid, you're headed for Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. This is a funeral for Leonard Skinner," who Ronnie Van Zant was a dear, good friend of mine. We're both Southerners, and we got along great. I learned more about who not to be from Ted Nugent than anybody. But producers, Bruce and Carol Hart, had come to the show to check me out. And when I came off tour, I was offered a movie sooner or later. And I thought, well, I didn't know what it was going to do, because I was on the cusp of rock and roll. AC/DC was my opening act when I did a tour, but I was on the cusp of a whole rock and roll kind of legacy career. And I did the movie, and when I did that, the album was associated with it. And my band, I lost my band. I have nothing to do. I have 6 months before the movie comes out, and I'm riding my motorcycle around New York, like at loose ends. And I remember one night I was crying in my beer with a friend. He said, "Rex, why don't you go audition for Danny Zuko?" I go, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Yeah, it's an open call. Anybody in the city can go." So it was a non-union call. So talk about like the movie, The Producers, the lineup of guys was every range. The guy in front of me, I couldn't, he was getting more and more nervous as he got to him to go out. He walked down that stage and he was like, "I am all alone. Thank you." I could have kissed him. And I went in there and I did a little, "Hey, hey, hey." And the girl running it, she said, she must have been a secretary or what, an assistant. She goes, "We're definitely going to want to see you again." I said, "Okay." So I left the theater and I was walking to Beatlemania, which Lieber and Krebs created that. That was their show. And one of my best friends was the stage manager. And I'm going to see him to tell him about what I just did. And 2 guys in business suits stopped me. They go, "Are you an actor?" And I said, "Maybe." And they said, "We're the casting directors from Greece. We've been following you for 5 blocks, and you are Danny Zuko." And I said, "Guys, you're a little late. I just came from the audition." And they both looked at each other and went, "Don't take a job." And they ran around the corner. I was like Marlo Thomas and that girl. It was like, da 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 da. And I ended up doing Zuko. So here I am, hard rocker, made a teen idol movie, but it's not out yet. And now I'm on Broadway. Talk about wearing different hats, and life is moving very fast. And Broadway was really where it was my saving grace. It was my ticket to a lifetime career. So I'm doing Greece national tour. Well, the tour hadn't happened yet. I'm on Broadway. And on Sunday night, March 25th, 79, Sooner or Later came out. And there was only 3 channels in VHF. So the impact of that around the world was incredible. It was like Ed's playing on the Ed Sullivan Show. on Monday, it was a dark day in the theater. I rode my motorcycle down to Bloomingdale's when there was New York was just Oz, and there was only one Bloomingdale's and one FAO Schwartz and such. But I was no, maybe I'll buy a shirt or a sweater or something. And I'm in Bloomingdale's, and I hear people starting to scream. And Bill Cosby was being interviewed with news or whatever. They had lights set up and a big camera. And I was standing there watching it. I was well far away from it. And I was going, God, that guy can't go anywhere. And 20 minutes later, I'd locked myself in a dressing room, and there was 200 girls trying to break it down. And the police came and said, who the hell are you? And I said, I felt like it was a Holiday Inn commercial. I said, I don't know, but I was on a movie last night. And I'll tell you this, when they screened the movie, they did it in a huge theater in New York, like on 55th Street in one of the big buildings. And I guess it held 900 people or something like that. And when I watched the movie, I'm kind of 5 rows, 10 rows center back with my brother. And I saw the screening of the movie, and I was just a guy that came in and sat down. But I remember when I stood up, when the lights came up and I stood up just to go, the look of every person in that place was it's hard to really describe it. I don't really have a word to describe it, but it was otherworldly of how people were, how just instantaneous sort of fame right there at that moment. It was like a strike anywhere match. And of course, that was madness for 2 years around the world. And there are so many stories to that are I could go. I'm just taking up your whole show. So
No, it's amazing.
We can go a different direction.
People wondering, how all of that came about. And when that blew up like that, and of course, the music coming along with it and everything else, the whole world changed. How were you able to handle that level of fanfare? Because even then, even versus now, if you were on television, you were on stage, you were in movies, you were, you had music out, people were wrapping themselves around poles and buildings to wait to see you, to get the autograph, to get the photo, to just see you and maybe even rip the shirt off, whatever.
And I had a situation where the crowd got through the barriers. The cop said, jump. And he grabbed me. He had my hand, and bald hand was pulling me. And it was a mosh pit. And my belt went, my shirt went. I was wearing leather pants. They didn't get that. But my boots, I was curling my toes. No, not the boots. Boom, there goes one boot. There's the other. Socks. By the time he got me, my back was all scratched up and stuff. And it was, there are scary moments. I'll tell you one thing, this is true and funny. I played in Detroit at the Fisher Theater. And after the show, I was in my dressing room. It was like on the 5th floor of this theater. It was a huge theater. And it looked out at the parking behind the theater. There was parking and things. And there was a mass of all the girls. And I was on the 5th floor. I opened my window and waved to them, and they must have been a cheer squad or something. They made a human pyramid, and they got the ladder and pulled it down. And then they all, in their Sunday best, they were climbing up the ladder and coming up the fire escape. And I reeled backwards going, so I ran out, and I ran through the house out to the front doors, which were 30 feet high, one of these huge doors, glass doors, whatever. I pushed these bronze doors. I went out, and the door clunked behind me. Now I'm locked out of the theater. I'm in front of the theater, and the sidewalk is big enough to drive a car on. And there's no traffic, but there's a cop car going by, and I flagged him down, and he pulled up on the sidewalk. I said, you got to help me. There's 5,000 girls around this corner, and they're going to come around there. They're going to rip me to shreds. He looked, and he goes, I don't see any girls. And then you heard the first, and there he is. And here it came. It was like the mob came, and it is, you have to imagine, it wasn't dissipated by YouTube and 1,000 videos and everything. It was 1955 and Elvis or whatever. I mean, it really was. The world was telephones still. And he said, you better get in, and put me in the back. And then the girls came and they swarmed the car. It was like we were underwater with pressed faces, against the glass. And he said, we got to get some backup. And they had to get some other cars to come and clear it off. And yeah, stuff like that. I mean, it is, it really is. What was my greatest thing? My father, just great advice. He said, all fame is fleeting. And I've adhered to that. That I enjoy the ride and but I'm not Norma Desmond. I've done thousands of Broadway bows in the crowd or standing ovations, stuff like that. But I don't live in my life. I'm the guy getting paint chips at Home Depot these days.
Exactly right. But back then, boy, you were everywhere. Teen Beat covers and Tiger Beat covers, and people had your posters and David Cassidy's and Sean Cass. I mean, everybody's on all of their walls, and I'm sure some still have them today. It was really quite an overwhelm, wasn't it, on so many different levels? And like you say, sooner or later, still talked about. It's like a cult following now for that. And then the music as well, and all of the musical output that followed, which was pretty cool as well.
Well, that was my Jim Morrison right there. That was
right. This one.
Look at that. I mean, is that not rock and roll or what? That is what my life was, and I never expected it to be. The thing about Sinatra was a teen idol. You can call it that. Tom Jones, whatever. The moniker of teen idol by the time I was in that genre was there were so many not really talented people that they just manufactured, and proof in the pudding of a career, from hard rocker to teen idol to superhero to primetime daytime Broadway movie star. That's quite an arc. And I'm not saying that boastfully. I'm just saying it in a real, I'm just grateful to have the experience.
And what did there's a cool shot too. This goes back.
That's probably backstage or something back on the road. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Got the Ferrari shirt on.
Oh yeah.
That's a cool shot.
Oh, that was a great shirt. That's my Italian bike shirt. That was when I was on Good Morning America. And that same day I went and walked from my album Everlasting Love came out. That's Good Morning America. I walked from not Lincoln Center, from Rockefeller Center. There was a big record store there, and it was all filled with my new album, with that album right there. And it was a beautiful day in New York. And so I walked all the way up to the Dakota because I had a meeting with Leonard Bernstein for to be in his mass, the 10th anniversary of Bernstein's mass at Kennedy Center. And I went in there. So a beautiful day. I'm 7:30, whatever. I'm on Good Morning America. By 10:45, I'm at the Dakota, and it's funny to see that movie that they made. Whenever I've seen of his apartment and such, and he's there with like 5 joyous assistants, and the pianist was a young man who became the conductor at the Hollywood Bowl. But I'm singing for him, and I don't read music. Right. But I had the man, the full charts in front of me, the actual orchestra charts. And I'm following along, I'm singing, and he's going, stop it. He goes, how can he sing like that? He's a musical illiterate. And I'm going, well, he goes, go ahead, baby. And I'm going, okay. And I'm singing some more. He's drinking 4 fingers of scotch, right? He's got that long hair and everything. And he stops it again, and he's going, hey. He gets really close. He goes, hey. He reaches behind his ear, and he pulls out a joint as big as my finger. He goes, smoke a joint, baby? I went, maybe later. He goes, yeah, later. And he's conducting me. He stops me again, and he comes up, and he goes, hey, I've got a cabin upstate New York. I could take you up there and teach you to read music. And I said, I think you're a little overqualified to teach me to read music. So anyway, as it turned out, he made an announcement. I have an announcement. It's going to be a tour de force. He's going to play the rock star and the narrator or whatever. And I ended up not doing it. I just made some other choices. But it was such a wow day that I remember I walked out there going, that guy's out of his mind. But I went, well, I'm kind of out of my mind too. So I'm not a genius, but I understand what it is to be a little nuts. And I was so knocked out by the day. I went straight to my apartment and just grabbed a few things, and I flew out to my place. I had a house in Beverly Hills, and I flew out that day. And and by the evening, I was in my house, and I just couldn't just stay in New York for another day. So there you go.
Yeah.
That was. I mean, okay, this will kind of sum it up. I have skied the Alps. I've flown aerobatics. When I did Solid Gold, when I got that, I bought an open cockpit biplane, and I studied aerobatic flying, and um, I have checked so many boxes of adventure, true adventure. And then how did I pay for that? By an adventurous career. So I got the best of all worlds. And so where I am in my life right now, more quiet and as it should be. Um, I'm just in awe of the opportunity and that there was a world out there where you could grab it. You could grab it with your hands, physically do it. It's difficult now for people. And I champion them, whoever is finding their way up that ladder, Chutes and Ladders, and building a career for themselves.
You also got to play in Street Hawk, which was
Yeah.
fantastic, and that claim to fame too. Tell us about how that came your way, Rex.
Well, I had done Solid Gold for a year.
Marilyn McCoo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's how I got Solid Gold. So, unbeknownst to me, they were eyeballing me to take over the show for Andy Gibb because
Andy
he
Gibb,
could not.
yeah.
He couldn't.
Yeah.
He was adult.
Yeah.
He was a sweet guy. He played
Yeah.
my part in the Pirates Penzance in Los Angeles, in the Pirates Penzance of the thing. So we shared that, and then when I went on the show, they were looking for me to take over. I didn't know that, and they because he was sweet, but he just, what? It's a treacherous business, and you don't have to be hard and mean or anything to do it, but you gotta keep your eye on the prize, and you gotta go to bed before the sun comes up. That was always my thing. People were going, Rex, where are you going? I said, I go to bed before the sun comes up, and 8 shows a week is a good responsibility too. So I was guest hosting. They had me ensconced at the Beverly Hills Hotel. I had Bungalow 7, which was Howard Hughes' bungalow, Marilyn Monroe. And I also had the last cabana at the Beverly Hills pool, which is at the time most powerful deal-making pool in the world, the epicenter of Hollywood deals at a poolside. And I've got the last one by the deep end. So I'm wearing my red Speedo. That's it.
By the deep end. I love it.
No, I'm in my cabana, and I'm having
are.
lunch with the producer.
That's
And
incredible.
we're both having the McCarthy salad, and he leans forward and he goes, Rex, I'm prepared to offer you $500,000 to host Solid Gold next year. And I went, yep. I'm holding my fork. I said, you ever go to the fair and you hit that thing and try to ring the bell? I'm not hearing the bell. And I put my fork down and I dove into the deep end, kind of like Dustin Hoffman in The Graduate. I went down to the bottom and I blew out my air so I could stay down there as long as I could. I saw him looking at me through the wavy thing, staring down at me. I pushed off. I came up and his hand was out. He took my hand. He goes, how's $1 million to do it? And I went, you never know what they're thinking in Hollywood. So that was the $1 million day. And then that same day, I drove out to the guy that produced Grease 2, Alan Carr, to his place in Malibu. And he actually went on and he announced that I was doing Grease 2. I made him do a retraction because I wasn't doing Grease 2. But he said, I want you to play the Montgomery Cliff part in Day in the Sun with Elizabeth Taylor. I want you to play the Montgomery Cliff. And he says, and I'll give you 350,000. And so I went home I called my parents and my mother. My mother was very blue blood Southern. She made Rayx into 3 syllables. And I said, you know what? I'm buying you guys a Jaguar. I know I'm buying you guys a BMW. And she went, you couldn't get a Jaguar? And I said, no, I'm getting you a BMW. Uh, didn't do the movie didn't happen, but that was a pretty heady day, you know, 1,400,000 almost in one dip in the pool. But that life, that's where life could be. But you know what? I understood, like I kept echoing my dad, all fame is fleeting, that I didn't put, I put my whole energy and everything I could and everything. And there's me and Liz. Now that Liz and I got the Theater World Award for best, you know, actress and actor. And there we are, the receiving our awards at the dinner. And now Liz had a thing. Uh, I uh, I was going into Sardi's on Wednesday. It was called the Actors Lunch, and it was half price, and I loved it because it was upstairs. I had a waiter that always give me a bag of that brown bread with the raisins and everything in it. You know, he knew I loved it. And I'm walking with a date kind of thing, a little lunch date, and we're walking through the entrance, and it's packed because whatever people going to the theater or just out of the theater. I'm heading to go upstairs, and I hear this Rex. Oh, Rexy. Oh, Rexy. Rex. I'm thinking, oh my God, it's some, you know, somebody from Queens with too many martinis and whatever. Finally, I turn to look, and it's Elizabeth Taylor going, Rexy, oh, Rexy. And I go, and across Sardi's, I go, Liz, darling. And I go over to her, and she goes, yeah. She goes, cut the crap. I went, well, you started it. And she goes, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm having lunch with her. She goes, you really having lunch with her? I said, no, I'm having lunch with you. And so I said, listen, you're my guest. You can go up and have lunch. I'm sorry, but I got to do this with her. So that began a good friendship between, she was doing Little Foxes when I was doing Pirates. And I went to see her in the show. And unbeknownst to me, I didn't know that mauve was her favorite color, right? And the girl that worked for me, she knew it, and she sent like 2 dozen mauve roses to her dressing room. And I was wearing a mauve sweater. I had no idea. Look, this is the 80s. You wore colors like that, right? And I had no idea. I had no idea that I was wearing the color of the roses that she's got, and it was her favorite color. And they go, I had a pretty famous date, and she was with me, and the dresser said, just a moment, she's still getting dressed. Okay. And she's wearing, door opens, and she pulls me in. She goes, oh my God, the sweater. I said, I gave it to her that night. I said, you can have the sweater. She grabbed me and kind of pulled me in jokingly and just slammed the door on my date, pushed me on a chintz sofa, poured four fingers of Jack Daniels. And we sat there, and she was curled up like a cat, and we're just sitting there talking. And I don't know if she was thinking, but I was thinking, if I was 10 years older, she was 10 years younger. And um, yeah, pretty fascinating Liz story.
That's a great Liz story. You were talking about Street Hawk too,
Oh,
and
I'm
how
sorry,
that.
Street Hawk. Oh, I'm
No,
sorry.
no, I
There I
love
go.
the Elizabeth Taylor deviation. That's awesome.
Well, you throw a picture at me, it's like a Rorschach print, right? What
And
do you see in this picture?
you're good.
Um,
I throw it at you, and you catch it and send it right back.
Street Hawk. Street Hawk was no. I grew up with motorcycles, and I raced them. Motocross when I was young.
Jacksonville, Florida.
Well, I was born there, but in Atlanta.
Atlanta, yeah.
I'm an F head from Buckhead, and I went to high school there and stuff. But anyway, so motorcycles were always part of my life. And when Street Hawk, I met with ABC, and they wanted to talk about a series, and they presented me with three things. One was like a musician, and the next one was like a musician, and then something to do was just the bare bones idea of something on a motorcycle. And I said, that sounds good to me, because I had, until Street Hawk, I had never done anything that I wasn't singing to, right? So Street Hawk was my first actual non-singing part. Um, they went through the various gyrations of looking at actors and stuff. I was in New York doing the human comedy for the Shakespeare Festival. And I went out there and ended up doing the final thing with them, screen tests and everything. And I got the word on the night before Thanksgiving that congratulations, you got it. And I remember one of my best friends who became managing director of Lehman Brothers. He was my, everybody borrowed my cars and stuff. Not everybody, but real friends of mine would go to my apartment and they'd let them use them. And I'm on a I'm on a date, and he zooms up to where I'm having. He goes, "Come on, we got to go to this place." And he's a lawyer, in 3 states, but he was in his cups. And he goes, "There's this place called the Kit Kat Club. I got to take you there." We're in the back seat, and he's like our driver. And I said, "You have anything to drink?" And he goes, well, the kamikaze was the big drink of those days. I gave him for the holidays one time a carafe and 4 glasses going kamikaze. I don't know, I even remember what it was made of, but it was powerful. And he looked at me, he goes, "I had 3 and we were kazis." And the guy had run a red light. So my BMW's wrecked. We're all okay. The other guy's okay. We have a witness of the guy who ran the red light, and it was a Marine. And we're going, "This is golden. We got a Marine." But we couldn't find him because he got mugged that night. So anyway, he ended up getting the car fixed and making me some money to boot. But that was just a funny journey of like, hey, you got the part, and then and one all in 4 or 5 hours. But that was $1 million an episode. And where show business is stud poker. If you could get one card, you're going for a straight or flush, you got it, but you need that one card. And you just can't do that in showbiz. We were slated to be Monday nights at 8 o'clock. And that was the golden ticket because you had Monday Night Football too. So you were in tight. And the president of ABC got fired over it. He had a mid-season replacement. And he said, "I'm going to put this on. And we're moving Street Hawk to January at 9 o'clock. We were Monday at 8. And that lost a lot of kids. I'm not crying in my beer over this. I'm just explaining the stud poker of it all. That we lost that thing. That put us in a environment we were up against Dallas. We came in strong second all the time. But I mean, it wasn't what the show was built for. And ultimately the president got canned. That was one of the big final, I guess, acts that got him canned. But anyway, my co-star on it was always watching the overnights going, "Rex, this," and I go, "Man, whatever's going to happen, I'll just get on the bike and ride as far as it goes before it runs out of gas." And it was an excellent. And George Clooney got his Screen Actors Guild card on that. That was his first guest star. And I went to bat for him with producers going, because I met him playing basketball of all things. And I remember he had like a old convertible, and if you rode in the car with him, in the glove box there was stupid sunglasses, and it was kind of like a requirement you put them on, and just good sense of humor and stuff. And so he got on that thing, and some guys get on that escalator and go up, and they never take the down.
Did you see him recently when he was in, well, of course, that amazing Broadway show playing Edward R. Murrow?
No, I didn't see that. No,
wow.
I'm in California.
Really extraordinary. They aired it nationwide for one night just a couple of weeks ago on CNN.
Oh,
they actually aired it on
I
television.
think I saw that, but it was just a one shot, right? I mean,
it was a one
and then
right.
It disappears.
Exactly. It was really extraordinary. He was so incredible in it. Absolutely. So how were you able to, with all of the fanfare and being, a teen idol and having music out and films and television and stage performances and just really being on the tips of everybody's tongue, did the family keep you grounded? How did you navigate all of the craziness of it? Because, you came through it pretty well. Not everybody does, through all the trappings of Hollywood and entertainment. How did you do it? And did the Southern roots, did the family, keep you grounded?
Yeah. Look, I was like the kid the little kid around the era of you know, Christopher Walken and Belushi and all that stuff. Like, I was, I did Saturday Night Live with Linda and stuff, but Treat Williams was one of my best friends. Christopher Reeve was one of my best friends, but I was the kind of the kid, and I remember some of these guys would party. There's the mauve sweater. There's the sweater. That's the sweater I gave Elizabeth Taylor.
I tell you, I do my research.
That's it. I mean, come on.
That's
I mean,
it. Yeah.
There was Liz and Dick, and that night it was Liz and Rex with
Liz
a
and
mauve
Rex.
sweater in between. I took the sweater off my back and gave it to her. Can you? I mean, I haven't seen that picture, and that is something that's the evening right there.
In all my years of following Rex's career, I never thought I would make him speechless.
I mean, that's outstanding. I mean, people watching this, you must be having some fun. You must be having a ball, because that is a. I mean, if you're interested, but yeah, that's a gobsmacker right there to see the sweater after that story.
Yeah.
That's the color. That's the color. And she was, when she opened the door and she saw it, she just grabbed me and pulled me in. She was like, she was like a young girl of like going, oh, because I saw in the background 24 roses, that same color. I'd never seen roses that color. I was like going, huh. And then getting kind of pulled in by my tie into the thing and shoved on that chintz sofa, very nice sofa. And then just, over, Jack Daniels over rocks.
Do you remember the brand of the sweater?
No, I have no idea.
Because I tell you, if you had mentioned it during this time, they would have sold out immediately. And with that story too, people would be looking for that sweater today.
I was pretty well put together to go see Liz. I mean, I had a good sense of style. I tried to. One of the things I loved about living in New York was the style factor and also winter and everything, wearing the scarf and the gloves and the coat and the hat and the things, and having those accoutrements. I live in California, and if I'm, my brother-in-law is a doctor, and I've got, doctor scrubs or sort of my 5 o'clock wear, after the gym and everything else. It's doctor scrubs and not the top, but a t-shirt and that. And you'll see me walking around the neighborhood thinking, is he a doctor? I didn't know he's a doctor. I just tell him I'm an anesthesiologist and I can give them an epidural if they need it.
The other thing too, of course, is the hairstyle.
Yeah.
I mean, you created quite the trend. I'm sure, a lot of the guys were saying, how do I get the Rex Smith hair? Just like, the times when people were going out to be Madonna and all the girls wanted to be the Madonna look. Everybody was doing. Yeah.
It's
I love that wall behind you too.
Yeah. That's a cool wall. Let me see. I'll just give you a thing. I mean, this is interesting. I mean, there's no shirt, of course. That's opening night of Pirates in the Park. And there's the hardest woman to photograph in the world was Liz. She wouldn't let you, not Liz.
Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis.
Jacqueline, yeah, because I was thinking of Liz. But so, there was a photographer that his career was chasing her around, trying to get her without the sunglasses, and she seemed happy. I was going to get a bottle of champagne for me and Kevin, because backstage they had kind of a picnic, and they had like plastic trash cans with ice and wine and stuff like that. They were filling. I said, Kevin, I got something for her. I ran out there. I didn't even have my jeans buttoned up, and I just grabbed that thing, and somebody said, Rex, can we get a picture?
When you had that camera up to the picture with your expression, if you notice how cool it is, the expression on your face, and then the way the ring light is making an O, it's like you're saying, hey, I'm here with Jackie O.
Tom did solid gold
yeah.
twice, and I was really proud that I built a good friendship with him. There's the Daredevil. There's I don't know if it's in there. There's Stanley and the Hulk and Bixby and myself on top. I called it. We were on a break. I climbed on top of the judges' benches and I grabbed those flags. Said, "Get over here, front and center." This is Anaheim Stadium when I was rocking around. That's me, REO, Foreigner, and Ted. That's some like 65,000 people. So that's where my career was. Nobody even knows that. I mean, I went pretty far with that. Here's Al Pacino came. I saw him at when I was on a Wednesday matinee at a restaurant, and I said, "Listen, I'm playing the baddest guy on Broadway in Scarlet Pimpernel, and it means nothing unless you come and see it." He came to see it, and that was my dressing room. He was going, "Whoa, whoa! I've seen dressing room. I've never seen a dressing room like this." And let's see, there's there Andy Warhol did that the interview. Here's Bianca Jagger, no shirt on again. She was guesting on Street Hawk, and that's my dog Palamine, licking her ear. What else? Oh, there's a great shot. That's me and Kevin. And when we were doing shots for Broadway with the big Broadway photographer, she was packing up, and I said, "Wait a minute, wait. We need a real daring do shot." And that was my idea, and we got it. And there's the night I met Andy. I think that's more artwork than a lot of stuff. That was at 1 Avenue, which was one of my favorite restaurant, one of them. And I saw him, and I went over to his table. I had done the show that night, and he had just come from the show, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's great." So I ended up doing things. And here's Michael. See Michael? Is he there? In the Thriller jacket. I'm wearing the red bow tie, like I got the get dressed thing. This is Kevin and Treat, three of us like brothers. Beautiful. I miss Treat so much. Here's Bush, Kiss Me Kate. He probably the only show he went to. There's Marilyn McCoo and I, and et cetera and so. Oh, this is good. I had to do this. This says, "Have you ever left your body?" I don't know if you can see it. It says, "Rex has an out of rock star has an suddenly I found myself on the wing of a plane at 35,000 feet." Well, it's a true story that I was having lunch with somebody, and I told them I had an out of body experience. I've had three, and one was a motorcycle wreck, a huge one, and I came out of my body and I saw myself laying there. And I didn't know if I was paralyzed or what. I mean, whatever. It was a big accident. And the other was when I was in high school, I was being groomed to be a quarterback, and I got the chicken pox, and I was sick for a long time. My hair grew just a little over my ears, and my brothers were kind of hippies, and I was the last one to whatever. And Vietnam was in full swing, and guys were leaving and not coming back, and so the coach wanted me to cut my hair, and I wouldn't do it. And Coach Butler, he had a hair lip and a constant leaking thing associated with. He had a glass eye, and on game day, he'd put a skull and crossbones in his thing. He'd go, "Smith, baby, we're going to cut that hair," and I wouldn't do it. And we were doing a suicide drill thing, and I was young, so it's the thing. You lay down with the ball, they blow a whistle, you get up, and he had the two biggest linemen come, and they were just stomping me, and I was in fetal position. I came out of I really did have I was looking down at it, and that's just your brain at work or whatever, right? But I remember I threw my helmet kind of at his feet, and I said, "F you." I said, "I can get laid without getting my legs broken." I had never gotten laid. I mean, but half the guys were kind of like, "Yeah," and the other ones wanted to kill me. But that was the beginning of my rock and roll career, because I put together a band, and I started singing at the dances. I'd play at high schools and stuff. And so I said, "Hell, I can meet girls without getting my legs broken." It's true. You can do that. So, uh, so I don't know. I'm just scattered with things. Yeah, that's just some stuff I put together. The other side is those are from the
Oh
front of
yeah.
the house. They shipped that to me. I had it in my garage forever, and I kind of redid my house. And my wife said, "Why don't you put those up?" And then those are the shows, various shows I've done. And yeah, it. Oops, what did I do? There you are. There you go.
You got some
Um,
really nice records behind you there too, huh?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. There's albums and such. It's just what are you going to do with that stuff? You put it somewhere. I don't have it really where I kind of have a desk here and stuff, and it's good where I can just contemplate when I'm writing and that things. Um, yeah,
Brandon must think it's kind of cool when the first time he realized the background and all the fanfare. What was that like for him, for your son initially? You're always going to be
Brandon, Brandon,
your dad to him.
Brandon. I just got back from Cancun, 4 nights Cancun for
Yeah, I
Father's
heard.
Day. He
Yeah, I heard. Yeah.
flew me out and put me up, and we had great. I've got five. I've raised five. I've got $2 and $3 and two sons, and two of my daughters are married, and the youngest is 21. Um, my son Gatsby is doing great. He went to Cornell on full ride, and he's um,
When you
he's worked.
what happened was when you said full ride, you were like, "Thank God, that would have cost a fortune."
No, no,
And then the
no, I
thing
know.
popped out.
Listen, I tell you what. On the day he was born, I had a 68 Z28. That was a beauty car, but I put it up for sale because my wife said get rid of that thing, whatever. And I got back from when he was delivered, and I saw on eBay or whatever it was gone. It had been sold, and then years later, we were watching Speed Channel, whatever, at the one of those auction shows, and there's 68 black with red interior, perfect Z28 rolling up, and I bought it for 10 grand and I sold it for 50 something, and this is back 26 years ago, and he goes. The thing sold for the thing was up for sale. He goes, "Hey, gee, Dad, that could be your car." I said, "It sure could. It sure looks like it." And it sold for $139,000. And he goes, "Well, what's that mean, Dad?" I said, "Well, either you owe me 139 grand or a 68 Z28." I said, "But you got a scholarship, so you're off the hook." So Gatsby um, is done quite well. Gatsby is the Brandon is not the mini me, but he is so much. We were like the Patty Duke show. They walk alike, they talk alike, and I mean, there really is amazing and quite wonderful. But Gatsby is Brandon had Gatsby staying with him. He said, "Dad, uh, he's nothing like you and me." And I said, "The world couldn't take another one of us." I said, "He's our Michael Corleone. He's Michael Corleone. He's the calm one." Yeah, there you go.
Are
Um,
they in the industry too, or they
no,
have?
Gatsby was working with Lockheed Martin and stuff, the Skunk Works, all that kind of stuff. So now he's with another company, but he's got the secret clearance, all that kind of stuff. So really proud of him. I'm proud of them all. Um, and but Brandon, okay, the short form of that, if possible to do it. When I was in '79, at the height of that summer of '79, I was the star of the Calgary Stampede in Calgary, and the Columbia rep was this beautiful girl, 23, like me, and for 3 days she was, with me working, whatever the thing. And then, so this is '79. It's a full moon in the back seat of a red Mustang convertible, and we're hitching up our jeans. And as 23-year-olds would do. And I said, I've got 2 weeks R&R at the Kahala Hilton, the presidential suite. I mean, at the time, man, I was staying in massive suites around the world. I said, would you like to come and just see where this goes? I mean, she was a breath of fresh air. And I won't get into the whole thing, but she said, you know what? I'm separated, going through a divorce. It just wouldn't work. And I was leaving the next day. It wasn't like, I left in a snowstorm going, come back, whatever. It was like, well, I tried. And I never heard from her again. And there was 16 years later, I was doing Sunset Boulevard on Wednesday matinee, and there was an empty seat right in the very front row. And at the second act, when I'm singing Sunset Boulevard, there's a 15-year-old boy or 16 years old sitting there burning a hole through me wherever I am on stage. So much so that when we were doing the bows, Diane went, do you see that kid burning a hole through you? I said, yeah. And I'm proud of this, that I was raising money for charity because I'd almost finished 2 years in Canada. And so I had a setup with a Polaroid and someone to take pictures for $20 a thing for charity. So after the first bow, I'd run out and wearing my white suit from the top of the second act. And it was really a successful way to raise money. People going out, they were happy to get a personalized Polaroid. He got in line and I wish I had that Polaroid. I took a Polaroid with him and I said, what's your name? He said, Brandon. It hadn't developed yet. I'm going, you seem like a very intense young man. Are you interested in the arts? And I looked up and Atlas shrugged. I mean, the world shifted. I knew I was looking at my firstborn son. And I told my dresser, I said, take this young man to the green room. And the green room was downstairs off the lobby of Modern Theater, like at the Schubert was and such. And I remember that he walked and there was a moment he turned and looked like the last look at me and went down the stairs following my dresser. And years later, he said, Dad, see, things had gone bad. His mother, whatever, everything, whatever. He was homeless when he was 12. And that's Dickens wouldn't write the things. I won't get into all that. But when I said that, he thought it was like Carney talk for take him to the green room. He thought, the dumpster or something like that. And because that's the tough life that he was, and he has the heart that is it's family blood. That really is bloodline. He's got 2 children, I've got 2 grandkids with him, and he is the most giving and hardest working. He's successful. I mean, here's a guy that started from sleeping on a park bench in Calgary to driving a Bentley, and he's a millionaire. I mean, he makes over $1 million a year. And so we were both just amazed and more than grateful. It's the hand of God that brought us together. And we speak every day. If I get an emoji from my other kids, I go, honey, I got an emoji. Look, I got a happy face. And it was rightly so, because when I had my first kid, I went to my father. I'm the youngest of 4. And he flew Hellcats in World War II, naval aviator, became vice president of advertising for Prudential. He was a madman, not insane like whatever that thing, but in that era, late 50s, all that 60s. And I remember saying, Dad, what's the secret to being a father? He goes, if you're doing your job right, you're making yourself obsolete. And so I didn't know I was so good at it, but just like saying all fame is fleeting, hold on to them tight, but just build them up and let them out the door. And when they come back, that's on them. And that's a great shot. Yeah. I mean, look at those 2 faces. I mean, I see him sometimes across the way, or used to, like at a party or something, and it would be a split second going, how am I over there? He moves his hands like me. He thinks like me. It's quite wonderful. And he's the only one I really talk about stuff like that because of the experience and such. I respect the privacy of my children. I don't understand people posting everything from day one. I mean, I know it's a good thing,
Yeah.
but just for
Even in the womb
strangers,
too. Pictures of
yeah,
the
yeah,
baby in
yeah.
the womb.
That you don't even know the people looking at it. I mean, they deserve their
Exactly.
privacy. Absolutely. They have every right to do it.
Well, he obviously roots you on too, because I got a chance to the night we were at the gala with the
Yeah.
Schubert with you and Betty Buckley and everybody. Brandon was there, and he was a terrific guy. He came right up to our table and us and introduced who he was, and we
Yeah.
had a great conversation with him. A really nice guy, professional and
Yes.
witty, and chip off the old block, Rex.
He has you would you know he's very successful in his business, and there was someone there that had been in it and was the top dog kind of thing, and took him for a drink when in New York, and he goes, sort of a "who the hell are you" thing, and he goes, "Let me tell you something. I came from nothing." And he goes, "Every day I'm shaving that mirror, I got that monkey on my back, letting me know I'm not going in that direction. I know that you probably went to school in Switzerland and such. And I'll tell you what, I'll buy the round of drinks, but thank you very much. And that's just the kind of guy he is. Not a smart ass, but stands up for himself, but also adores his children and his wife, and he loves his dad, and his dad loves him. It is such a good story. One thing is that I share about it is from day one there is no scarlet letter. No child has the burden of some sort of scarlet letter on their back, because it's not their journey, is their own star, their lodestar. But I'm a champion of it, and um, that's probably what I've talked with them about it. Then I come up with some sort of association for children of that. We've talked about that, something sort of not a clearinghouse, but a chance for uh, just to help along the way, know that somebody cares, because he's not the only one in the world.
Right. Does this look similar to the car that you had?
That's it. Well, that's mine. That's the
Similar.
RS or whatever, but that's it. Black with that and whorehouse red interior.
Wow.
That thing was, Hell's Angel guys would give you the thumbs up in
Yeah.
it. I drove that. I bought it in Vancouver when I was doing a sunset. I was out jogging, and there was it was just advertised signs, antique car auction today, sports cars. And I had no ID or anything. I'm just wearing a pair of running shorts and a t-shirt. And I went and stuck my head in, looked around, and I said, "Wow, that looks interesting. But I don't have any ID." They said, "We know who you are." And so they gave me a card or whatever. So I'm just sitting there watching cars, and I had my eye on that. And this is funny. I'm sitting there, no ID, no anything. And they're going, "And this car," and I held it up. And then somebody else held up a thing. And I held it up. And then I held it up. And I said, "And sold." And the TV station was there just doing a little background color, just saying, "Today, there was a car auction today." But when the cameraman saw me there, they zoomed on my face, and my face was like that. Like I saw my midlife crisis bite me in the butt. I just was like, I went for a run and I bought a Camaro. And I remember walking with the guy going, "What do you do with people that say, 'Hey, I just kind of, I bought her on whim?'" And he goes, "Oh, we prosecuted the thing." I said, "Okay." So I went to the American Express. I said, "Give me $10,000 of traveler's checks, and $10,000 paid for the car and the insurance and the plate." And I drove it down to Seal Beach. I was living in Seal Beach, California at the time. I drove it down Highway 1 by myself all the way from Vancouver, Canada to Seal Beach, California, through the redwoods, everything. What a journey that was. That was just the best. And I had it for uh, I had not changed the plate on it. I had it. I had a garage that I had some cars in, and my youngest daughters were very young at the time, and it was Thanksgiving morning, and we're driving down PCH to a home for Thanksgiving, and they're going, "Punch it, Daddy," and I go, "Well," and so I gave it a little punch, and woo, just a motorcycle popped out of my trunk, and so I got out and I'm talking to the motorcycle officer, and I said, look at that window. And there's the two kids looking at me. I go, you give me a ticket on this thing. This will be the family story the rest of my life. I'm never going to see. He goes, Rex, get some California plates on that
It's
car. Okay.
right.
He said, happy Thanksgiving. So, yeah, there was, it was legendary in its, another thing that the car just gave me a great experience, and it ran perfectly. The only thing
Mm.
that ever happened when I was just going through San Francisco, I did the shifter and it came out of my hand. I was in second gear. The bolts had loosened up, and so I'm on the freeway in second gear, and I just got it off, and there was a auto parts store, and I found out I put some Loctite on the bolts, and I was able to get it back together. But that was the only problem the thing ever gave me.
That's not bad at all, huh?
Yeah, yeah. You know what? You know what it was? It was the guy selling it. Um, his buddy was there. He had a photo book that thick of frame off, everything. Like, it was braided lines, fuel lines, everything. And the day I bought it, okay, I mean, if I can tell this story, there
Yeah.
was Lionsgate Bridge in Vancouver, and the day I bought it, when I picked it up the next day or whatever, I drove it to a mechanic. I wanted to get it looked at, and he was on the other side of Vancouver. So I'm on the bridge, and I get right to the middle of it, and unbeknownst to me, they said, "Oh, the fuel gauge is not working." I said, "Okay." And I got to the top of the bridge, right in the middle of the bridge, and I ran out of gas. And the float in the carburetor is plastic, and it had landed on the hot metal, and a hole had made in it. This was yet to be revealed to me. But anyway, I'm at the top. Here comes the tow truck coming up the thing. Traffic is honking at me and giving me the bird, and it's all downhill, the thing. And I said, "You can't drag this car." He goes, "What do you want me to do?" I said, look, I just got it. I mean, it's a classic. We can't, you drag it, the pipe and everything. I said, "Is there a gas station?" He said, right at the very bottom there's one. I said, "Just give me a little nudge. Just give me a push." And he pushed me, and I glided down. No brakes, or working the brakes manually hard. And there it was. And I rolled right up to the pump, filled it up. So I take it to this guy, and he's going, "Oh, hello, mate." He says, "I usually work on Rolls Royce, Bentley, that. Let's take a look." He put it up on the rack. He goes, "Cool, mate. Look at this. You don't have to be much of a mechanic to know when you got a good one. This is a gem. This is a jewel. This is brilliant." I went, "Wow, it's fun." So, so anyway, now it had a hole in the float, but I didn't know it. And as I drove cross country, everything was good, but a little bit of gas was getting in that float, and it was starting to sink. And when I got back to Seal Beach, I had a beach house, and I had a little garage, like because it was an older beach house, and it fit in there perfectly, but it was compact, and it wouldn't start. And so I took the top of the filter off where the jets were, and I had some starter. I was going to try and start it up, and I said, "Okay, hit it and hit the gas." Well, the gas was spewing out because there was no float there. It was just spraying, and this is a hot engine, electric, and a little thing that would have burnt down the whole beach. And that was the only thing. I got that fixed. So I know that's a long story, guys. That was my
That's
career story.
amazing. God, you did accents in that and everything. You played
Oh,
the
cool,
parts of
man.
several people in that story. I love it.
Apples and pears up the stairs. You know
Apples
what?
and pies.
Look, I just did Liverpool. I did the Comic Con in Liverpool.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
like 750,000 people. It was cool, and I
Isn't that
had my
incredible?
motorcycle. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had the Street Hawk bike and the command center set up with all working from Universal thing. It had been rebuilt by this man uh, in Wales, and that was a trip. And I took my wife from there, which Liverpool. It was like 53 degrees, windy, a little bit of rain spitting. We all had winter layers and everything. Then the sun came out after a couple of days. I took my wife uh, to Bruges, Amsterdam, Bruges, and then back to London, Mayfair. She said, "This Mayfair, you're kind of laying it out." And I said, "We're going to live posh, darling. We're going to live in Mayfair." I lived in Chelsea when I did the movie Pirates, Penzance. And that was in 81. And London still looked like a Spitfire was going to do a victory roll coming over. And Kevin lived above me in the flat above me. He caught his kitchen on fire. "It's on fire." I grabbed a fire extinguisher, and it was a chemical thing. He was ran down, and I put the fire out. And then we both had chemical in our hair. Oh, that was when I did Sleeping Beauty
Yeah.
for Fairy Tale Theater.
It's
Um, uh, but our hair was all white, and Kevin in Kevin's thing, we're both looking at ourselves in the mirror. He goes, "I've gone gray." I mean, it was you just had to be there for the timing that was immaculate with Kevin for comedy. But
but was
yeah.
it posh?
Well, it was posh. I mean, it was, it was, it was lovely. I didn't want to, you know, like many places, London's, getting its share of black eyes,
Yeah.
like in the city kind of go. So I wanted to go in the really little pocket there, so I wouldn't feel uh, too bad about it, because it's, I really picked. Oh, well, here's the really beautiful thing. It became 74 degrees, because still at the first week of May in Amsterdam you could have snow. I mean, it's crazy weather. It was 74 and sunny all the way that through Bruges, through London, everywhere in Europe. They were all amazed at the beautiful weather, and it couldn't have been better. It was just, I said to my wife, it was like our 16th honeymoon. It was great.
Mm, that's cool. Look at this shot we dug up.
Oh yeah, that's rock and roll. That's on tour. That's
Mm,
staying at the whatever the Riot House or whatever they called that. That's
hmm
and that's what, Atlanta Motorcycles or something. My T-shirt. Oh, that's Joan Jett. Now then, that picture. Joan got the what is it? The 411 wear your striped shirt. So anyway, they put that in the Post or in the Daily News. They said Rex and the new thing, Rex and
And
I
Joan.
said, yeah. And I called him up, said, you got to print a retraction. My girlfriend's not going to like that.
Yeah, she was.
And they did, but it's a classic picture. I've got that picture in it's a little teeny one that of that shot that's on that wall with Joan.
Look at that.
Mm,
Mm,
that's Madison Square Garden right there. See,
wow.
nobody even knows that.
Yeah,
Everybody
right?
thinks you go like, oh, I loved, the Teen Idol thing. And I go, man, I had a mini tramp under that drum riser. At the end of the show, I wrote a song called Rock This Town before Stray Cats. And it's going, we're going to rock down this town tonight. And the guitars are facing each other. And I jumped over the guitars, and the crowd goes, yeah. And then they put it up higher, and I jumped over that. And then they put it over their heads. And the crowd's going, no way, but maybe 100 kids saw it. I had a mini tramp that came out underneath the thing. So I was doing David Lee Roth, the same kind of thing. And I jumped over the guitarist, and the crowd just would go insane. And I had like a 10-foot scarf with little fishing weights in. I would have those made, and I'd go bam, 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 and I'd throw the scarf, and it would fly to the middle of the auditorium. And when it hit the crowd, bam, lights out, and that's it. And it it caused riots. I tell you, I was playing Fort Worth, and the kids went so wild they tore some seats up and stuff. I was playing 2 nights, and this is all rock and roll. And the manager comes. Everybody came. Columbia flew somebody out and all this stuff, and they got everybody going. Rex, look, they're going to arrest you or something. Don't say anything about a riot. And I went out there. Don't. No. Said, I heard there was a riot here last night. I said, I still want to see a riot. And the kids were having a blast. Anyway, so we're in the dressing room, and the hall manager comes, and he goes, you're never going to play this Coliseum again. I said, I like Dallas better. I was trying to be Led Zeppelin and doing a pretty junior job of it. And I said, there's 50 states. I think I'm going to be okay. Well, he got elected president of the Hall Managers Association. His number one thing was to keep me from playing. And so I was on tour, and I had to fly. My next job, our next show was in Cleveland with Ted. I had to fly wherever we were back to New York to see David Krebs, my manager. And I get back to New York. It's winter, it's snowing, and it's dark, 5 o'clock, whatever. I'm in his office. I walk in his office, and he's sitting there very somber. But actually, we're going to lunch. I got to call him to set it up this week. He goes, well, I got the legal documents here. I'm going, okay. Says, They had to hire like 10 extra cops. They had to put a $25,000 bond. They had to do this, had to do that. I could not inform the press that I've signed this document, da 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 da. And he pushes it to me and he goes, "What do you think of that?" And I go, "I think it's the cover of the live album." And he goes, get out of my office. So I fly to Cleveland. I missed the plane. I'm in Chicago. I missed the connecting flight from the snow. So I go to Swingo's, which the movie Almost Famous, they recreated the
Hmm.
lobby. Swingo's in
Right.
Cleveland was the epicenter of rock and roll. So Led Zeppelin's there, Ted's there, I'm there, stuff like that. I get in there I missed the show. I get in like midnight and they go, "Mr. Smith, there's only one room left and it's on Led Zeppelin's floor. Is that all right with you?"
Mm.
I said, "Well, yeah, I guess, you know." So I'm in my room and the roadies are racing gas engine cars like up and down the halls. It's just bedlam. And I go to get like a 7 Up or whatever, the Coke machine thing on the hall. And there's Robert Plant leaning against it. And it was like, I used to dream that I would be his apprentice and go to his castle, you know, and learn to sing. I mean, I knew how to sing, but just to advance myself. And he's leaning, saying, he goes, "Well, what's your story?" I said, "Well, I told him the story I just told you." And he's laughing. He thought it was funnier than hell when I said the cover of the live album. And that's all I met him of that night. But there's a story that comes later, which I will tell you. I'll tell you now. When I did the movie Pirates, I got back um, after doing the movie. I skied the Alps for 6 weeks and I went to see my parents for a long time. Anyway, I'm back in New York and my manager calls and said, "Hey, the producer wants to see you, whatever." And I go to see the producer and he goes, "Listen, we want to do one more shot for the movie, and we're going to pay you $10,000, and we're going to fly you Concorde and give you a week at like the Connaught or I don't remember the hotel." But uh, I said, "Okay, what?" And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "What?" He goes, "Exactly." I go, What? What?" He goes, "Yeah, that's it." "The word what?" He goes, "Yeah, you're just doing one word." I go, $10,000 Concorde and a week in London to say one word. I'm in. So I flew over there and I'm checking in and they said, um, "Mr. Plant has given you his private bungalow." And I was going, "Mr. Plant?" They said, "Yes, Robert Plant." I go, "Robert Plant has given me his thing." He must have remembered me from that moment, from that night that we met. I can only imagine that had seen me, you know, I mean, I was pretty, especially doing Pirates, you know what I mean? That was kind of worldwide. That was so, and what's even more incredible was I was good enough mates. Um, oh, now that Michael Caine. Um, I was at Tramp. Tramp was the exclusive club of London, and CC Guest was sort of the Paris Hilton of the time. And she gave me a letter of introduction before I went to English. She goes, "Take this anywhere. It's your letter of introduction." So I thought, okay. When I was looking for a place to live and stuff, I went to the club in the afternoon. I said, "I've got this letter of introduction." Said, and Johnny Gold, the owner, came out from the back. He says, "Oh, Rex, you're in. You're my guest. You know, don't worry." And you know, it was the Rolling Stones. There was this, that, and Chris Reeve was making a movie. Um, um, Sleuth or with Michael Caine, whatever. So one night I'm at Tramp and I'm walking to go to the dance floor. I'm wearing a vest and a hand grabs my vest as I walk by and I just hear, "My wife loves you." And just pull, he goes, "Sit down, sit down." And it's Michael Caine with the cigar. I sat down. I remember the girl looking. I said, "No, no, I'll catch you." And he goes, "Have a cigar." And that became a thing where I would meet him for dinner and it always went, we got home before the sun came up, but it was dinner, brandy, cigars, and just fantastic. And there was a girl, an American girl, that was working there, and it was really a refreshing thing to talk to an American. No, she wasn't American. That was another place. Anyway, I'm out with Michael, and the girl says, "I'm getting off at Sosa." I said, "Well, we're going to be here for closing probably." And so I said, "Would you like a ride home?" So we had the Daimler. I always called it the gang's all here in back Daimler. And it's me and Mike and this girl, and so I'm riding with Mike. Okay. And the girl gets out and she goes, "Would you like to come up?" And I said, it's Michael Caine. I mean, really, I appreciate it. Rain checks goes, you American poof the bastard. I mean, she just took my head off. And I kind of meekly got back in the thing, and Mike goes, played your cards right. You might have gotten lucky with her. And just that cigar and this thing. And I remember laughing. And seriously, we were going into the, pre-dawn of London. It was as good as it gets. But I called him up and I said, Michael, you got to get over here. I've got Robert Plants. I got a sauna. I got a tea garden, and I've got 10 days in London. And so I go to the studio and they go, oh, it's Rex. The guys up there. Hello, Rex. How are you, boys? And they got a little corner set up. Now, Linda was not the greatest thespian. And she delivered her lines. Oh, Frederick, could not you and all your this, that, and the other. And it just they didn't like the way it landed, right? Too late to go do all that, get her, easier to get me. So I go there and I go, okay, we're ready for you. And action. I went, I got to watch the movie, see how I did it. And so I can replicate it. But I went, what? One more, Rex. Okay. What? One more, Rex. I went, what? Or I don't even know what I did. What? But imagine that one word. Mm-hmm. And they went, that's it. God, thanks for it. Bye, Rex. Bye, boys. And 10,000 Concord, one word.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
As John Davidson always said, that's incredible.
You know what? I was offered Hollywood Squares. Yeah, that he ended up doing. I was offered it first, but I went. I turned it down.
Really? I don't think most people know that.
No, nobody knows that. The producers knew it. They had lunch. I had lunch at the Beverly Hills Hotel in the bar there. And they're sitting there, said, we want to offer you this thing. I said, if I do that, I said, I can see it. Smith Inc. Square deal. I can see it in the thing, but it was not the route. I'm not knocking John Davison or anything. I'm not. It was a great gig, I just did not, it was, you know what I mean? And truthfully,
sort of locked in, I guess.
Yeah. And I tell you what, for me, the rock and roller in me, that's where Broadway, that's where I found a real home, because 8 shows a week and sweating and doing 2.5 hours of the show 8 times a week. You multiply that, bands go on tour and they're playing 63 concerts. Well, that was only a month's work on Broadway. And it's just, it satisfies my ADD brain, I guess, or whatever. It's just nothing like jumping in that shower after giving everything you got. Mm-hmm. And I never lived for the bows and stuff was part and parcel, but as soon as the curtain came down, I was done. It was not, it was never for me the thing. Oh yes. I see, because that's just, that's part of kind of degrading yourself, because you're not, it's all fleeting, so I take life that way. And that is it in the best way, it keeps me young.
Absolutely right. Of course, talking about the other types of music that you were known for, the gold top 10 single, You Take My Breath Away in 1979, that's still, people, they're talking about it in comments too. They're like, oh, I loved when he sang that song. Well, oh my God, I played that record until the record fell apart so much. People loved you doing that too.
There's a story in that. Are we still on? Are we still here?
We are still here.
Okay. All right. There's a good story. My first day as a film actor, I filmed getting up at 6 a.m, whatever. And I filmed in the movie. It's where I'm jogging and the girl sees me and we run. That's going to be the background song. Charlie Colello, who produced he was the 5th season. He produced all the 4 seasons, Sinatra, whatever. He had been building the album while I was beginning the movie. That was my first day of filming. And that day at 7 o'clock, I went to Record Plant in New York, and I was introduced like, hey. I think I'd already met him, but I went in, there was the first song recording was You Take My Breath Away. And now I went in there, I had a little water, took a sip of water. I put on the headphones. I got some headphones right here. So I'm at the thing, and in the studio, I put on the headphones, right? And I'm going, okay, check, give me a little reverb. That's it. Give me some tenor. Yeah, I need a little treble. Treble. Oh, yeah. That's it. Just a touch more reverb. That's too much. Thank you. That's great. And I said, I'll just roll it. Let me warm up. So I just sang through it as warm up. And when I got done, Charlie goes, come on in. We got it. And I went, what are you talking about? And I was just warming up. He goes, believe me, we got it. It's the only song I did in one take. And it wasn't even a take. My mind wasn't going, okay, this is a take. And this is sometimes where you, by chasing the perfect take, you're chasing smoke. And Charlie knows his stuff. So I go into the studio like, really? He goes, I want to show you something. He goes, roll tape. We had tape in those days. And then he had 4 faders. Those are the volume things on the mixing board. He goes, I want you to hear something. It's like, dun, 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 dun. Then, ooh, ah, take my breath away. The 2 guys and 2 women singing, background singers. And he pulled that down. He goes, I guess we don't need that. I didn't know how good you were, kid. And he's playing it. And it was about halfway through. And I said, I got to go to the bathroom. And I went and locked the door. And I started to cry. I went, because, man, I came through hard rock and roll clubs, hard thing, think about it, all the Ted Nugents and the this and the that, which, and that's behind me and this is in front of me. But I went, that's a hit. I just recorded a hit. And indeed I did. I mean, and so out of I don't know 100 recorded, professionally recorded songs, the only one I did in one take, and it wasn't even a take, is You Take My Breath Away. So somebody tell me what that all adds up to. That's a blessing. Is what it is.
It really is, and one that keeps giving because, people refer to it, people still talk about it. It's still, occasionally you'll hear it playing. It's amazing. The other thing, too, of all these wonderful things from Grease to Street Hawk, you also were the first actor to play the Marvel Comics superhero Daredevil in live action.
Yeah.
What a great opportunity for that, too, Rex, huh?
Yeah. It was Stan Lee, it was like this was the real thing. Look, I'm like the planet Pluto, like there's a debate, is he really in the universe? But you cannot deny being the first. And there's another, it only happens to me. Bixby was fantastic. What a great professional and director and a great man. And John Rhys Davies was going to be my nemesis. And this was a backdoor pilot for a series. And I got a really good paycheck for doing it, fortunately, because there's a thing called the upfronts back then. And, when they showed their new series things for the advertisers, whatever, to set how much the buys there would be for advertising. And when they do the upfronts, if you've done a pilot, which is a pilot for a show, if it's not picked up, then you're free. But ABC was coming out with The Flash. And so I remember they tested the show, and Bixby called me. He said, Rex, you tested off the charts. Audiences love you. He goes, I said, look, Bill, I got my eye on this 65 Porsche, 65 356, and it's one owner. And should I get it? He goes, Rex, go get yourself 2 of them. This thing's, you got it. We got a hit. And I went and got it. And at the same time, I was offered doing, listen to this, 50 episodes of Zorro in Spain. Like they were going to whip it out before I started the show, like just knock out 50 episodes. And when I did the screen test for it, I went and they pulled out the original, the actor that was on Lost in Space. I can't remember his name. He played Zorro on Disney. They pulled out his costume. I wore his costume for the screen test, right, for the thing. And then hair guy or makeup cut my own hair and built me a perfect mustache out of my own hair. And the crew, it was only cameraman, some lights and stuff like that. They just wanted to do testing for the outfits and stuff. Um, uh, the crew was my crew from Daredevil, and we're joking and cracking jokes and stuff. And so now it's Memorial Weekend, and I took my sailboat over to Catalina, and I said, "Man, I'm just going to enjoy life, whatever, abalone burgers and life. I've got Zorro and Street Hawk. I mean, not Street Hawk, Daredevil." And I get back, and after the weekend, and my agent calls me and goes, "Rex, the Zorro thing fell through. There's no way they can put that all together. The financing, whatever." I said, "Well, I didn't know how I was going to really do it anyway." He goes, "Yeah." I said, "But anyway, we got Daredevil." And he goes, "Well, that's the other thing." "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, ABC bought ABC bought the show from NBC because they don't want competition for the Flash." I was like, "What?" He goes, "Yes, so that's out too." And the other thing is they're holding you to the contract. You can't work in TV or anything for a year. I'm going, "What? I can't work. I ended up doing dinner theater in Canada. I was like the fugitive. I'm doing, they're playing our song. Yeah, they're playing
Hmm.
our song. And it was bizarre. And, but like I say, I made a good six figures on that thing for the pilot. Fortunately, I did that. But it was, people, they get crushed by that. I mean, it's a crushing blow. But at the same time, like I say, I just keep on going,
That's
it's like,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's funny. I did a Comic-Con, I don't know, a couple of years ago, and a guy came and said, he was a hedge fund guy, and he says, "I'd like to pay you a lot of money to sign original Daredevil things because I don't care who else has done it. I excel in having the originals. I've got the original. I've got Babe Ruth's jacket. I've got this. I got that. I got it." And he goes, "The money is in original because other things fade, but the original always stands there. That's a coin of the realm." And so I ended up. It was a nice little payback for, I because I mean John Rhys, what a great guy to play Mr. Big, to be my Moriarty, my nemesis. We were really looking forward to it, and I was having dinners with Stan and talking to him about ideas. He was going, "Kid, if you could draw," he goes, "You got some good storylines and stuff." I'm going, "Well, I just it's just my ADD," but I just joke about that. But I don't know if it's or not. Whatever it is, it's the sharpest tool I got. Um, and so, yeah, being the it's a hidden thing, but it's also it's a milestone. It is. It's a milestone because it hasn't really. I don't think it's ever really landed on its feet. Um, really, I think it's a shame that it wasn't able to at least get a run to lay out some of the plot lines that were yet to come.
Several people are saying, boy, we wish that continued. They really liked it. And we're hoping that it was going to be something that was a regular part of, the viewing. The other thing, too, you've had so many incredible things happen. We talked about You Take My Breath Away, which reached number 10 on the
Yeah.
Billboard Hot 100, the platinum selling album Sooner or Later, of course, featured in the film. But also, you've done Everlasting Love, which we talked about too, and that peaked at number 32. And the song is your lasting chart hit to date. And I tell you, you also had an opportunity to perform it live, I believe, in 1982 Miss Universe pageant, the main event
Well,
in Peru.
oh, well, I did. You got to look that up on YouTube. Do Rex Smith in Lima or whatever,
Yeah,
or
Lima, Peru,
in Miss
1982.
Universe. The song I sing with all those girls is "In Peru, in Peru, in Peru, where are the suns so lovely, la dee da da da." And it's amazing. Look, it's amazing. An interview popped up, and I sent it to Brandon, because in the interview I was 45 doing "Kiss Me Kate," And I said, Brandon, he's 45. I said, Brandon, here's you, or is it me at 45 at this moment? And you know, I was a man in full of that thing. I had children, I had this, I'm running, I'm touring, I'm hitting it. And you could see it, you know, the vigor is evident. And I saw that Miss Peru thing. Uh, this is an interesting thing. When I sing, I'm going to be playing at 54 Below in August, 15th and 16th, at 7 o'clock at 54. I'm doing my one-man show, Confessions of a Teen Idol, and it as I've been rehearsing, um, it's all a contained show, all the video and such. That I'll have to get some video from you, some of these pictures. But
There's when you did April too. Yeah. And
yeah, yeah.
well, there's August. Yeah.
August, yes. And the neat thing is, I didn't even, you know, I've got too many kids, but I was telling Gatsby, I said, you know, I'm playing the 15th, 16th. He goes, oh, Dad, think about it, Dad. I go, 16th. Yeah. 16th. It's your birthday. Yeah. So he's turning 26.
Oh,
So he's going to be there. My youngest daughter, Savannah, and Brandon, and my other daughters are married. They got their own things, but they're flying out. I mean, it's so that's going to be a heck of a
great venue in New
thing.
York
The
City.
old man stand there and do it. But the neat thing about singing, there's other things too. This is something that just has hit me kind of recently. When I sing a song that I recorded when I was 23, it's like a time machine. I can close my eyes and I'm that voice, and that voice is that person that I was, but still am. But the vocals lead me into that moment. It's really unique, and I love it. I somebody requests, I do a lot of cameo, a lot of people, because I take a shower and I look good and I sing a song of their request. A lot of those cameos, people, they're just laying in bed going, hey, you happy cameo. You was like, have some respect for the people and yourself. But apparently I'm like in top 6% or something, or whatever the thing they tell me. But I was singing a song that I did an album in the Philippines, and it's called Without a Word. And my father had passed away the night before I was in the studio doing vocals. I had to do vocals on it. And I had not had any sleep, but I went in the studio because what else was I going to do? And also I knew my father would say, you stand and deliver. And so that vocal is very dear to me. And somebody requested it day before yesterday. And I sang the song, and wonderfully, hot tears just came down my shirt, because I was singing that song, singing those vocals in that style, and who I was then and that day, which just put me in the time capsule and of remembrance for my father. It was quite moving. And then I went and had my one beer I have a day.
Had the one beer.
I get
And
one beer a day. I give myself one beer. Because
And
I'm looking to lean out, just like flying, get your fuel. I want to be as with it and
Yeah.
and present as I'm 70 in September, and I want to be as present as I can, as long as I can. I don't want to add to any degrading of me, you know, that I could have a hand in avoiding.
And always still to this day, folks, in before the sun comes up.
Well, I don't worry about that. I'm down before the news comes on. Usually,
he's in
I'm
before the
up.
sun goes down.
I raise roses, and
Yeah.
and I'm up before I'm up for anybody. I I've got. Hang on a second.
Awesome. Hope you guys are enjoying.
Yeah, hang on. This is
Love it.
this is not a huge bouquet, because
No, but nice.
I was away and some withered and stuff. The heat was tough, but this is a little melange of.
You were in Cancun, which was great. Look at that. So those are yours?
Yeah. Just some of them. and yeah, I love my roses. Sometimes, I mean, depending upon weather and such, I get some grapefruit size, you know. But anyway,
That's
you know, I
nice.
find
That's
it's the right
beautiful.
time of my life to be doing those things. It's very reminiscent of both my grandfathers, you know what I mean, who were wonderful men. Um,
What
you
did they
know, I
do? What was their thing?
one my grandfather on my mother's side was a very esteemed doctor who was the old black bag out the door
Hmm.
delivering babies and such. I
House
mean,
calls. Yeah.
yeah, he was in the medical corps in World War I over in Europe, and my grandmother was a nurse that he met over there, and that's a wonderful Hemingway love story. He was doing triage in the trenches or whatever, and a bomb blew and broke his arm,
Hmm.
and they couldn't really set it, no x-rays, and he always had kind of a frozen arm, but he was an insanely gifted fly fisherman.
Hmm.
And my uncle was the appellate judge in Alabama. My other grandfather, he was a doughboy fighting. He was a sergeant fighting in the trenches in World War I. So, um, but he was a champion handball player, right? He had all
Hmm.
these trophies around, and all my whole family, Birmingham, Alabama. All my parents were born there, and my brothers. I was just born in Jacksonville because my father had moved back there. He really liked Florida after he went through, you know, pilot training in the war. Um, and I said, "What brought you into the handball?" You know, I mean, like, gosh, you're really so good at it. He goes, he goes, I sell insurance. And the best time to sell a man insurance is after you've just
Just
killed him on the handball court. And he's like, have you ever thought life about life insurance? He said, it's the best sales technique.
yeah. As the guy's panting and yeah.
Yeah. After the champion is just
Right.
taking you to task. So my mother had a master's of criminology. I mean, of all things. She also, after the war, when she was young, she went over a single woman and studied culinary with Dion Lucas, who was a
Mm.
great French chef. So I grew up around that. Uh, I'm have learned so much. I'm in the kitchen. That is a big thing. I do a thing sometimes. I don't do it much. It's called recipes. I
Mm.
do, and I've got a little puppet, Luigi, and
Yeah.
we talk about what I'm going to cook. One of these days, I could set up some cameras and do it.
Yeah.
And I admire your work on what you're doing with this show and stuff like that, because it's an arduous task to make that commitment and stay with that commitment. You know what I mean? Um, I just, where I am right now in my life, I don't want to learn a line of dialogue. I've dialogued out. I've done all this stuff. I'm not burning to do
Yeah.
it. And also, I had such a great career. Why do I want to go and do some kind of half baked
Right. You want to
thing?
do it.
You know, I can. I'm Southern. I know how to relax, and my cup of coffee never tasted better.
Exactly. I love the way you say that. You mentioned French. Do you have any French in you, in your blood?
Oh, well, my middle name is Sinyard. It's uh well, Sinyard is my middle name, Siniard. That's my mother's name. So James Sinyard was a French Huguenot who escaped persecution. They pretty much knocked them out in a day. And he went to Ireland, and then from Ireland he went to the States and married a Cherokee. So I got a drop Cherokee in me, and uh, I've got I'm one 32nd Cree on the other side. Um, really interesting background of history in my family. That
Mm.
is, in the South, they tend
Hmm.
to regard it and carry it on and stuff. I wish I had my father around to regale me with some more stories of history and
Did
stuff.
so the family got to see your success and everything that
Yeah,
came along from the hard
yeah,
work,
oh
huh?
yeah. I mean, my parent. I mean, I was able to, you know, I set my parents up in a nice house and stuff like that. That I did the Elvis thing, you know what I mean? And I remember my mother saying, "You got to get a place here in Atlanta, be your sort of Graceland thing." And I I should have listened more to my mother. And my father was like, "Hey, leave him alone. He knows he's his own man." My father really enjoyed that I was a pilot too, and we had um, and a sailor, um, that we enjoyed that together. Um, and he, you know, he it's I never even knew that he was a fighter pilot. I was in Birmingham at my grandparents. I was down in the basement just digging around, and way back in the back there was a trunk with his name, stenciled on it. And I dragged it out and I opened it up, and there was his flight helmet and this. I've got his uh, his his flight, like what they had for Dead Reckoning. It was the flight computer on a
Right.
lanyard that they had. More guys died of running out of gas, than they couldn't find the aircraft carrier. But anyway, his flight jacket was all moldy, but Felix the cat was painted leather, so it was good. And this blue leather jacket with mold. I ran running up, going. I was quite young, going, "Look what I found!" I remember my father going, "Oh," and he was from that generation, just did his thing and then put it away and went on with life. But once I was flying, then it was like he shared stuff with me, the funny stuff, how I said, "Where was your uniform?" He goes, "You know what? When the war was over, I was in New Orleans and I went to a haberdashery, got a suit and two pairs of pants. I left in the dressing room. I didn't want to, I didn't want to be saluted. I didn't want to salute. I was done." But he said, I had a buddy though that had loaded dice and we had a good routine that week. He'd go like, it was just like they see in the movies going, "No, no, no, give me some money." "Oh, you can't do it.
Right.
Can't do it. This is your last money. This is supposed to be for your mother." "No, no, give me the money." And then, "All right, one more time." And then
One
the
more
guy would
time.
swing. Yeah, then they kind of raked it in. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not besmirching that. That was, that was,
It was the time. Yeah.
well, you also had cheated death for, you know what I mean, cheating a little dice. I mean, in a dice game in New Orleans, it's probably somebody else's dice. You just got it before them.
Right.
And I don't want that to be the lasting story of my father, but it was stuff
No.
like that. I mean, I wrote on my first album. It really is an autobiographical song. It's called "Trouble" is the name of it.
Mhm.
Trouble, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm back where I always been. Looks like I'm always falling in trouble. And I was like, wow. I mean, yeah. I mean, that was relative to me because my album deal, the mob, I got hooked in. The mob was hooked me in to do demos at a studio and take me, pay me down to Florida and stuff like that because I had a band called Tricks and we were like the big draw. And I was up in New York trying to make it and starving. And I went down and started a band called the Flying Tigers. And I made some demos and such like that and played some shows for them and made money. And one day they said, "Hey, you got lunch with the Godfather?" I'm going, "Yeah, the Godfather." I said, "Yeah, the Godfather," because they were club owners and stuff. And this guy was not like, Marlon Brando in The Godfather, but it's high noon. I walk into a Chinese restaurant in the inky blackness from the, Florida sun. And he's sitting at a big round table all alone with all the moo gai pan, all the dishes on a big lazy Susan. I sat across from him and he said, "So how's it going?" I said, "Pretty good. I think I got some good songs and stuff." And he goes, "Well, I'm going to tell you how it's going to be." I go, "Yeah, what's that?" He goes, "I'm going to give you a week to pay me the money it costs to bring you down here and the recording costs and stuff. Or you're going to sign a contract to me for life, or I'll kill you." And I was like, uh, I,
Well,
I'll think about it.
you didn't pick the one where
So,
you're
so
not here. That's good.
no, no, no. So I said, "Listen, I'm going to Sarasota. The keyboard player's parents have a place there for 4th of July. This is 1976, 200 years of freedom in America." And so we go to Sarasota, and so we're in the van. Well, we didn't go yet. So I went after I had that thing. The next day, I went to the cafeteria. I love cafeterias. I miss them, but I always went. And I was very polite, and they were polite to me. And I tipped what I could, and the guys who carry the tray or whatever. And the guy that hoodwinked me down there came and he sits across from me and he goes, "You think you're going to get out of here?" I said, "I know where you live in New York. You won't last a week." And I grabbed him by the scruff. I'm not a violent guy, but I grabbed him by the scruff of his neck. And I remember the waiters held both the doors for me to take him out. And I banged him up against his car like, bam. I said, "You're going to pay this money to get me out of this. You got me into it." And, well, I'll just leave it. I'll just say that. So I go to Sarasota and we're there and we met some girls and we're watching the fireworks. It's a 2-lane blacktop and the traffic's just bumper to bumper afterwards. We can't back out. I said, "I'll just go out there and hold it. Just come on, back it up." And I hear this guy go, "Look at that guy who's stopping traffic." I go, "Hurry up, will you?" And they go, "I had to punch him out." And it was a little louder. And then I heard, "I think I will." And I turned and it was a ham-sized fist came and just caught me right in the eye and I was out. Like Sam Spade, a dark hole opened up and I fell down in it. And I came to, and traffic was going around me like I was just an armadillo that had been run over in the road. And we went to a restaurant that served turtle soup out of a tureen. And I'm sitting there thinking, I've got ice in a napkin on my eye. And somebody shoves the waiter and he spilled the tureen over my head. And I stood up, I'm covered in soup and my eye is closed. And I let out a primal scream that you could hear. Satellite probably picked it up. Just, "Yeah." I went running down the street. I found a bench and it was not just be straight up, it was the gay pickup bench of town. And guys are winking at me and going, and I'm covered in soup and I got a black eye. And I'm going, "Really?" So there was a payphone. And my best friend's father was the godfather of the Good Old Boys White Lightning thing in Atlanta. And I did all the yard work for him because I used to make money on the weekends. And he really liked me and he was a good man to me. He goes, I wish you were my son. You're a good boy." I call him up. I said, "Mr. K," I'm not going to say his name. He goes, "What are you doing, Rex?" I said, "I got a little problem here." He goes, "What's the problem?" I said, "Well, I got these bad actors. They say I got to sign a lifetime contract or they're going to kill me." He goes, "You got a picture of them?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, I got a man in Miami I can send over, settle this." I said, "I'll think about it." So then I went now I'm back and it's the last day. And I'm in front of a secretary. I said, "I got to see your boss." She goes, "What's this about?" I said, "I can only tell him." And it was the DA. I told him everything I told you. And he said, he was like jumped up and he's going back and forth going, "We've been trying to get these people forever. We finally have a witness. Nobody will talk. We'll put you in protection." I go, "What? Witness protection?" I said, "I want to be a rock star. I'm not going to go work at a 7-Eleven in, Idaho." I told this story one time in an interview, and I got a letter from a guy in Idaho that worked at 7-Eleven. He said, "Hey, I enjoyed your thing. It's not too bad here."
And you got lifetime Slurpees now when you go there.
So I go to his house, and he and his wife, "Oh yeah, they're waiting for you in back." And this guy had a Olympic-sized kidney-shaped pool, with those no-see-ums fences on like the netting for the mosquitoes. They call them no-see-ums. They're so small. And he's sitting in a rattan chair with his stooges, who were the nightclub owners. And the three of them are smirking at me. And he goes, "So I guess you're got smart, kid. You're going to sign." I said, "Well, I've been talking to my lawyer." He goes, "Yeah, who's that?" I said, "The DA." And they just got up and walked into the house for 20 minutes. And I'm standing there going, I'm alligator bait, you know? They're going to cut me up into pieces and tie Miami Trail. And the guy comes out and he goes, "I want you out of this town." He's heated up. And I'm going, "Yeah, I want out of here too." I said, "I want the tapes." He goes, "Oh, you take them." I said, "Okay, the tapes." I said, "Yeah." And I said, "And I want $500. No," I said, "and I want a first class plane ticket to New York." And he goes, "I'll kill him. I'll kill him." His hand went like this. And I go, "Here it comes." And he pulled out a bunch of money and he threw money at me. And he goes, "Get out of my face," and the guys are holding him back. And then my brain spoke before I could do it. And I said,
Yeah.
What was it? no, it was at first I said, I want $500. And he goes, and then it just came out of my mouth and went, and I want a first class plane ticket in New York. I had never flown first class. And he goes, that's it. And the other guy, his hand, went, he's getting the gap. And he pulled out money and he threw more. I scraped up all this money to get out of town, had my tapes, and I backed up all the way out of that house. And his wife goes, bye, Rex. And she gives me a kiss. And so the next day I went back and said, guys, the band's over. Sorry, that's it. And I'm flying the next day and I'm drinking champagne first class. I got $500 in my pocket. I got a tape. And when I got into Lieber and Krebs, when I finally got into him, I gave him the tape and he put it on. And the song's called Call Her Easy, my first demo. And he said to me, he said, kid, if you sing half as good as you look, this is going to be easy. And I said, hey, that's almost the name of the song I just gave you, Call Her Easy. And so, yeah, another good story. And that's a hell of a one.
That's incredible. That's like an ABC movie of the week.
Yeah, I know that. I shouldn't have told it. Somebody's going to
No,
steal
it's
it.
great. Look at this shot.
Yeah, that's the band.
Wow.
From left to right, that's Lou Van Dor, Orville Davis, Rex Smith, Lars Hansen, and Mike Ratty. Lars Hansen, my guitarist, and Lou was the guitarist. Lars and Mike, my drummer, are going to be at 54 Below on Saturday night. It's going to be good to see them. Yeah, they're coming to see it. I wish I could pull them up and knock it out, but I invite everybody. There's an album, you can look it up. It's called Rock and Roll Dream, and they took all my albums in Europe, and they could circumvent royalty stuff or whatever kind of thing. Whatever they bought, they paid Columbia or Sony, whatever. But you can see the arc of my work, and you really should listen to. You can go and just listen to bits of them, and listen to Rex and where do we go from here is really, I was in my form, my fighting form. I was really graduating, going up the ladder of composing. And then I did the Teen Idol, Sooner or Later, Forever, which I wrote tracks on that album. And then Everlasting Love, which was, I recorded that while I was doing Pirates Penzance. I recorded from like midnight to 4 a.m. every night. So that was really just a contractual obligation. And then my last album, Camouflage, I'm really proud of that because that was me returning to rock and roll, and also with more mature look at it. And some of the tunes I'm really proud of them. And so I invite you to listen to that and get a little education, so because I'm not a one-trick pony. That also is not my, like these Comic-Con stuff like that. Somebody did 5 years or something playing a character on the thing. That's it. I mean, I'm not knocking it, but I did so many things. I'm not famous, for one thing, but it's the arc, it's the life, it's the adventure. That's it, So anyway, I guess I'll wrap it up. I've gone like too far. This is the cheapest therapy I've ever had.
That's what we do here. We don't call these interviews. I call these conversations. As a lot of the guests say, Jim, you've been bringing back, because we started this during the pandemic, and it plays off my professional work in television and radio. And a lot of the guests, even the viewers, have said we're bringing back the lost art of conversation, and you are a great conversationalist.
Absolutely, well done. These pictures and things and questions and leading, I don't know what I'm, I don't do much of this, but when we couldn't connect and stuff, I'm going like, why, what am I doing? They're going to ask me what my favorite color or something, but no, this has been great. This has been good. Really good.
I appreciate it. And there's Camouflage.
There it is. Yeah. Check that out. That's my last album. And I remember, it was, I really wrote, I think I can't really figure what my genre was as a writer, because it is, Never Too Old to Rock and Roll on my, on Where Do We Go From Here was, okay, that'll be my Kiss, whatever. Well, on a Rock and Roll All Night kind of thing. And I got the title because we were at a truck stop. She goes, you boys in a band? I said, yeah, we just played a concert. She goes, I'm too old for that. And I said, you're never too old to rock and roll. And it was like, boing, light bulb, But yeah, I invite you. I think you'll be surprised, anybody out there watching this, to go
Mhm.
and just Google in Rock and Roll Dream, and the albums will come up, or you can do it maybe on YouTube.
Mhm.
You can go to Camouflage, all the albums, check out some of the early of my other work,
Yeah.
and it'll kind of put a grin on your face, going, God, this
Mhm.
guy did a lot.
He,
So
he omnipresent, absolutely. The website too, rexsmith.com is there. It's a terrific website. All kinds of things taking you down memory lane. Plus,
go to
news.
Real Rex Smith is at Real
That's
Rex Smith. That'll take you to
social
Facebook,
media.
which Facebook is
Right.
really what I would do. It's more of I'm sunny side of the street, and I
Yeah.
don't, I just want to cheer you up and myself too. And visit hashtag Real Rex Smith will lead you basically to Facebook. I don't really do TikTok and stuff like that. I leave that to people that are, putting ping pong balls in their mouth. And
I know what you mean. 6-second videos of people just doing a
yeah, go,
quick backflip, and then they get a
yeah,
movie deal and a book deal and everything else.
well,
And you've been doing
that's
this for 50 years. And it's
yeah.
like, well, you know what it is? It's As the World Turns.
Oh my God, we didn't
We
even
can't,
touch that. Yeah,
we got to mention, with the soap opera fans are tuned in too. And they're like, you got to mention As the World Turns. Of
I
course.
was okay. I did 2 years of that. I was
You
top paid
did.
guy on that thing. I and my arc
Daryl
was,
Crawford.
yeah, you don't know if like can't remember her name. She's an actress that became very popular in the indie films. I went to get scripts for Christmas, and she's in the hall crying. She's going, "Do you believe it? They fired me on Christmas." I go, "You know what? This is the best thing ever happened to you. You're talented. You're good. Honestly, people have been here 25 years. They're just not phoning it in. I mean, it's a skill set and everything, but you're young. You're young. Keep going." And she did. She really made some great films. But uh, I did it for 2 years, and then I had um, collapsing whatever marriage, because my wife wanted to go to California. She couldn't live this New York thing. I'm going, my God. Anyway, I was holding out on signing, and then I ultimately didn't do it. But here's the thing: you don't know. My arc was this: the writer was the star writer for 50 years or whatever. They always had champagne waiting for him when he came into the office, whatever. And he said, "This is the Cary Grant part in Suspicion. That's what this is. Nobody knows who you are really, are you evil, or you this or you that," which gave me a great arc, because I had ghosts and things, and I'm, whatever, and a great love story with the girl that I worked with the most. And um, as it turned out, when I left the show, I was going to be the first in the history of soap opera characters that got away with murdering my wife. So I guess I was going to be the Hannibal Lecter. You'd come to my place for dinner if they were going to get rid of your contract. I don't know, because you could seriously, people got fired, and it would
Mhm.
just be, oh my God, there was an accident. He's not going to make it. I mean, that's it. Okay, next. But
Right. And you
I
may
remember
come back as the evil twin or something too.
yeah. The producer said, "You can't leave. We pay you more than anybody." I said, "That's why you pay me." Right? I mean, you're not doing it out of the goodness of your heart. You're doing it because, and they said I could do Shakespeare in the Park. That was the thing that killed it. Because they said you'll be able to do, because Joe Papp wanted me to do the arc of Shakespeare. He had his confidence in me. He goes, "Young man, this is my last hurrah. I want to put you through the canon of Shakespeare." And I was to do Midsummer Night's Dream, and they
Mhm.
didn't let me out. And I ended up just sitting in the restaurant thing, like background, watching one of them sing and stuff. And it really burned me, it really burned the bridges. And it was good, because I went and did other adventures.
That's it. You sure have. And he's coming to New York, gang, in August. Rex
Yeah,
Smith.
get your tickets,
Confessions.
because I mean,
Yeah.
I'm only there 2 nights. I don't do a lot of running around, but this thing is, it's clubby. It's a really neat little place. And the show is, go to YouTube and look, Rex Smith Confessions of a Teen Idol, or
Mhm.
do this. You can see my last song, which is This Is the Moment. Just do Rex Smith, This Is the Moment, and you'll see, because it's all the video behind me as I'm singing is a compilation of everything that I've shown during the show, and you'll really enjoy it. You really enjoy it. And if you want me to come to your town, tell your town to call me.
Tell your town to call.
Yeah.
Mr. Smith goes to Washington. Mr. Smith goes to
Smith
Boston.
goes to,
Mr. Smith goes to Chicago.
Yeah.
And 54 Below, of course, has ties to the original
Yeah.
studio
Oh, yeah.
54 in New York. For people who aren't familiar with that, you know, when you look at all of this, you talked about so many extraordinary things and so many experiences that you've had over the years, my friend. Really amazing things, and you've touched us in so many different ways in film and television and stage and music and, you know, all of it. And is there a book? Is there an autobiography in the offing? I don't doubt you've been
My
asked.
working title is Somebody Up There Hates Me. No, I really started out my brand and said, Dad, you got to write a book, and then it really morphed into Confessions of a Teen Idol. I said, this is a show. I want to tell the story, you know. And I've had some good times performing it in a lot of different places. I'm just not really chasing it down that hard these times, and there's no dishonor in that thing. It's a good life lived. It really is.
You've done all the running. You've paid your dues.
Yeah. And I gotta get dinner.
Through it.
I gotta cook dinner.
What are you gonna have?
We've knocked it out. I do a thing. I make well, I'm going to be making ossobuco. I got some shanks, they're not veal shanks, but I got some beef shanks yesterday. I'm not doing that today because I want to take my time with it. But you know what I'm doing is I'm looking up on YouTube, even though I studied in Ponte d'Era, I was taken under the wing of Umberto Menghi, who had like 5 restaurants in Canada, Italian. He had a cooking school that very high end, people paying 25 grand or something. I mean, this is like high end money to really basically be babied and do the thing. But he taught me some good stuff. And anyway, so I'm going to do some ossobuco, but I do a thing called my chop salad. I do Brussels sprouts and peppers and diced carrots and Spanish onion and slaw. And whatever else I want to put in it. But I do that in a big bowl. So I got to go chop.
Nice
but
stuff.
I put it in a bowl. I spin everything so it's all dry and it stays good. And I can just take 2 handfuls through it. If I'm going to dinner someplace, I want to be sure that I got the right food in me for the day. I got that. But what I love to do is just take some ground turkey in the wok, get that all done. And then when that's all brown, throw in the chop, just let it sweat in there. And then some garbanzo beans to finish it, and you can eat it you can just chow it and mow it. Okay, I'm getting
Good
my
stuff.
producer is telling me it's time to wrap up.
Time
My
to
wife
eat
is
it.
going, "Stop."
Everybody's getting hungry.
Yeah,
Rex,
okay, everybody.
You are truly the best. You're a real gentleman.
you.
You're a class act. You have a great sense of humor. You're a great storyteller. And, you know, from when we first met at that gala with Betty Buckley, I knew you were always exactly what I thought. You're a real cool guy, a straight shooter. And it was truly a pleasure and honor to have you on the Jim Masters show. And we're going to come see you. We're right here in the New York area. So we're going to come see you and root you on in August at 54 Below, my friend.
All right. Good. Thank you.
I really hope you enjoyed the time with me.
I did. Look how far we went. I mean, I'm like, I have no short story. I take the air out of the room once I start talking. But you know what? This is good because I've got my autobiography all done right here, so I can just transpose.
Just rewind it and see it in the archive. I really appreciate the generosity of time and truly hope you enjoyed yourself. It was a pleasure.
God, we knocked out 2 hours on this. Good job.
Amazing. We are something else.
Cheers. Goodbye, everybody. Keep on keeping on. All right.
We'll see you soon, Rex.
All right. Bye-bye. I don't know how to get it. There we go.
There we go. Like the Daredevil. What a great conversation. And we thank him for joining us here on the show. What a great conversationalist, right? I didn't want to stop him. He was just rolling. He had so many stories, different tangents he went on. He took us down many different roads. I think roads he didn't even know he was going to go on. So I just let him roll. And wow. I think a lot of stories that he may never have told before, talking about legendary television, film, stage star, actor, singer Rex Smith, 70s and 80s teen idol, but of course, so much more beyond that. Just a great guy. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, if you didn't hear that, we met actually at the 100th gala celebration. We were all there by invitation. And this was the fabulous Schubert Theater. This actually in New Haven, Connecticut, where so many stars have performed, including Rex Smith. And there's the lovely Betty Buckley with us as well. Of course, you know her from Cats, and just so much. 8 is enough for the TV fans. She's a delight too, and would be wonderful to have her with us. What a great conversationalist, right? He really shared some epic stories. And of course, many of you know from all the years of 16 Magazine and Teen Beat and Tiger Beat, and everybody was on all of those, the covers of those magazines. But some great stories about how he, got the role in Grease as Danny Zuko, and the role on Street Hawk on ABC, how that all worked. He replaced Andy Gibb as host with Marilyn McCoo of Solid Gold, and they still stay in touch. There is Rex Smith and Marilyn McCoo in recent years. Some great behind the scenes about Daredevil and, of course, Pirates of Penzance, and just amazing stories. And now he's going to go make his dinner, and all the music too, all the hit songs that you guys remember so well, and some great behind the scenes stories about it all, which I thought was epic. And bringing back a lot of members, some amazing stories he shared with him and Elizabeth Taylor, huh? And also Michael Jackson and As the World Turns, and George Clooney. Nick Clooney is his father, who was a revered television news anchor at KNBC Channel 4 in LA. Yeah, took you down memory lane for those who have followed Rex Smith since the 70s. And for those of you who just discovered him for the first time, you can Google him and you can see his illustrious career. He's going to be again in New York City coming up in August. If you're watching this a year from now, we'll have passed. Confessions of a Teen Idol. We're going to root him on. Great stories also about his rock career, which you guys may not have known he really loved pursuing. Great stories about that mauve sweater and Elizabeth Taylor as well, right? I think he was really shocked when that popped up on the screen. It's like, how'd you get that? Wow, that's great. Cool. Love it. This is amazing. And I appreciate that. I appreciate him joining us here on the show. Then and now, Rex Smith, exclusively here on the Jim Masters Show for all of you. His website, rexsmith.com, Real Rex Smith on social media. And hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Loved having him here on the show. He's a great guy. And as I mentioned, a terrific conversationalist. I didn't want to cut him off. He had so many great stories, and he took us down. I never cut the guests off. If the guests have a lot to say and a lot to share, we don't put a time limit on it unless there's a specific time limit. And if they have a lot of stories they want to share, and like he said, it was like therapy coming on the Jim Masters Show. And a lot of guests say that because we just have a good, warm, fun conversation. Nothing is scripted. It's all free flowing. It's from the heart. And you guys are watching and commenting and enjoying it and enjoying the ride with us and getting a chance to learn a little bit more about some of your favorite celebrities and others here on the Jim Masters Show. So for those of you who wanted to know a little bit more about Rex Smith, now you do. He even said that. He says, my autobiography is right here on the Jim Masters Show. And all I have to do is rewind and watch it in the archives, and I'll remember my whole life, which I think is fantastic. Good guy, and a pleasure to have on our show, and a pleasure to have you with us as well. We encourage you to give this episode a thumbs up, like, and also subscribe to the YouTube channel. That helps us out, helps us grow big time. Don't keep the Jim Masters Show a secret. Tell everybody you know about our series, and come watch us here on our YouTube channel. Like, comment, subscribe. Yeah, leave a comment below. What's your favorite Rex Smith story or memory? Share this episode on your social media. Drop a comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. Give this episode a thumbs up, like. We would Love that. You know, there's so many people of that time period too that have been guests on our show, and we, in recent months, celebrated our fifth anniversary, and we've been sprinkling in. We shared these during our fifth anniversary celebration, but we've also been sprinkling in the episodes some really wonderful words from some other noted celebrities who have been wonderful supporters of the Jim Masters Show, Celebrity Talk Show series, and amazing guests. And the words that they share just humble me. And we've been sharing them with you. People like Melissa Manchester.
Hi, Jim Masters. Melissa Manchester here, wishing you a heartfelt congratulations on the 5th anniversary of the Jim Masters Show. Commander of the Levities, may you have a splendid celebration. Congratulations once again.
And of course, during those years, Rex Smith, of course, a big teen idol at the time, she had these hits, Don't Cry Out Loud, and so much more. And on the radio, too, Tie a Little Yellow Ribbon Around the Old Oak Tree, and Knock 3 Times, and Candida, good old, our wonderful friend, our buddy, Tony Orlando.
Well, Jim Masters, 5-year anniversary. Congratulations. Let me just share this with you, okay? We're living in a podcast time, hundreds of millions of podcasts, and I've had the opportunity to do many of those. I just want you to know that you made me welcome. You knew what you're talking about. We became friends from the very moment we started our interview, and we'll continue to be friends. I'm so happy for you. 5 strong years, and everybody I speak to, those people who watch the interview on your podcast, and my buddies and friends who have done your podcast, we all agree you're very special. Thank you for thinking of me and always having me part of your podcast. And anytime you ever need me, please call me or want me to be on. It's a privilege to be on your show. God bless you and continued success to one of the best in the industry. God love you, Jim. Congratulations. 5 big ones. Yes, sir.
We love Tony Orlando. We also love Lucy Arnaz.
Hey, Jim, it's me, Lucy Arnaz. I just wanted to wish you congratulations on 25 years. Holy cow. I remember when you were just an anchor guy out on the street doing, people stories. And now here you are with your own fabulous show online, and you've interviewed everybody in the world, including me several times. And you've always been a fantastic support, always letting people know what I'm doing and my history. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. We love you, and we wish you continued success. And how about 24, 25, or maybe 35 more years? Congratulations.
We love Lucy Arnaz. We also love Susan Lanier, who you know from The Hills Have Eyes, Wes Craven's movie, and lots more television shows, films. She's a dear friend, big supporter of our show. She's been here several times, and she shared these fabulous words.
Hi there. I'm Susan Lanier, best known for starring in Wes Craven's The Original, The Hills Have Eyes, as well as other comedy TV shows and music. And I just wanted to say congratulations to Jim Masters. 5 years of the Jim Masters Show, 1,300 episodes is quite the accomplishment. I am so happy for you. I had so much fun doing your show. And thank you for inviting me to do it. And I really want you to ask me again. I look forward to doing the next one. Again, Jim, congratulations.
We love Susan. We also love Kathy Garver, as Sissy on Family Affair.
Time passes quickly when you're having fun. And Sissy from Family Affair and Firestar on Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, and my new role as Lucy in the film The Thing About Pickles, Kathy Garver, all wish Jim Masters Show a wonderful 5th anniversary. Happy anniversary, Jim.
We love Kathy Garver, and we also love Linda Pearl and Patrick Duffy.
Hey,
Jim Masters, congratulations.
yeah, 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, just more than a toddler.
Yeah. have a wonderful next 5 and 50 years ahead of you. And thank you so much for having swell people, including us, on your show.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Bye.
Thank you, Patrick Duffy and Linda Pearl. Jack O'Halloran, the legendary boxer, as well as TV and film star. He's a great guy and a class act. He's been here several times. Watches our show all the time. We hear from him all the time behind the scenes. And he wanted to be a part of this.
Hi, this is Jack O'Halloran from the character Non of Superman 1 and 2. Happy anniversary, Jim. I really enjoyed doing your show. Anything I can ever help you with in the future, please let me know. Congratulations. Happy anniversary, Jim.
So nice of him to share those words. Really, really appreciate all of this and from all these amazing people. Tina Cole, of course, you know, from My Three Sons and so much more. She also put out a fabulous memoir. We love Tina Cole.
Hi, Jim Masters. Tina Cole here in front of the Lincoln Civic Auditorium with the Lincoln Theater Company. We're doing our last performance of Death of a Salesman. Had to get that plug in. Anyway, thank you for 5 years of amazing interviews. I want to wish you all the best. You are the best.
Beautiful words. And thank you so much to Tina Cole, a dear friend of our show as well. Somebody that, oh boy, she is just a sweetheart of a person, and she's a very caring person. And she was a guest on our show several times, and we just love her too. Anne Serling, the daughter of Rod Serling, The Twilight Zone.
Hi, Jim. Thank you so much for the interviews. Doing your show was one of my favorites. It was like sitting with an old friend. You had clearly read my book, and your respect for my dad was evident. Happy 5th anniversary, and here's to so many more. Thank you.
The wonderful Anne Serling, daughter of Rod Serling. Another great friend of our show, just sprinkling some of these in case you missed them. Randy West, prolific announcer extraordinaire, has been on several episodes of our show, including our Bob Barker tribute and much, much more Wink Martindale tributes. We've done tribute episodes to legends as well, and remembering their lives and contributions. Also, one of the voices for a long time, along with Bob Barker, of The Price is Right and a lot of other game shows, our dear friend Randy West. And he's in a really cool spot right now. Take a look at this.
Hey, the clock tower from Back to the Future to mark the time that you've had your show. Jim Masters, 5 years. That's incredible. We're all so proud. Those of us who have participated in your programs, well, it was an absolute joy. You're such a great interviewer and listener and conversation. That's what it is you have. Unlike so many folks who are filling up the airwaves, you've had a tremendous conversation with some amazing people. I'm very proud to have been included. And marking your 5th anniversary, Randy West saying, come on down. We need more Jim Masters.
As only as Randy West could say it. Thank you so much, Randy. We love you for that. Of course, another prolific television and film actor, Sean Kanan, you know from The Bold and the Beautiful, which he's in right now, General Hospital, Cobra Kai, The Karate Kid, and so much more. He's been with us several times. He's a big friend of our show. He's a really cool guy and a nice guy, and he wanted to share these words too.
Hey everyone, it's Sean Kanan, and today we're celebrating a fantastic milestone, Jim Masters' 5th anniversary of the Jim Masters Show. Congratulations, Jim. Your dedication, sharing incredible stories, and connecting people is truly inspiring. And over the past 5 years, you've built a space that entertains and uplifts us all. Thank you for the joy and the inspiration that you bring to our lives, and here's to many, many more successful years of amazing content on the Jim Masters Show. Keep shining, Jim. Cheers to 5 wonderful years.
Thank you very much, my friend. Just a few of them. There were many, many more that came in, but just wanted to sprinkle those in, especially when we're talking about this time period with Rex Smith as our special guest. And this was really great. We also, before we go, we want to thank everybody watching from all around the world. It means the world to us. But when somebody does something extra special during the show, like our dear Lovety, JMS Lovety, Kathleen Walker in New York City did. She's always here and always supporting our show. Thank you for the super sticker. Really colorful, sort of an aqua turquoise color. Kathleen, watching in New York City in support of the Jim Masters Show Entertainment Lifestyle Celebrity Talk Show series. We thank you for that, Kathleen in New York. Good to have you with us and everybody watching, and we appreciate you being here. So that's it. That's a wrap on this one. Rex is making his dinner. Boy, when he was describing that meal, the ossobuco, he got me at the ossobuco. I love ossobuco. I've never made it. He's made it. I've never made it. We'll have to try it. Takes a little time to make a dish like that, like he said, but just really, he's got my mouth watering just talking about that. You guys are the best. Spread the word about our show. Like, comment, subscribe, all the rest. Don't forget to love one another, take care of one another, and do not forget to do it for yourself. Sometimes even I have to remind myself to do that. Always running around doing for this, that, and the other thing, and you got to take time for yourself as well. Oh, I should throw in one more. The incomparable, the legend, Sir James Galway and Lady Jean Galway. He played a little ditty for us in celebration of our series. He and Sir James Galway is, a multi-million selling Irish musical genius and flautist. And they also have the Galway Flute Academy. He and Lady Jean, his lovely wife, they live in Switzerland, and he wanted to share just a little treat for us here. And we thank him for that.
Congratulations, Jim Masters, on your 5th anniversary. It's great to be able to talk to you. And this greeting is coming from Sir James and Lady Galway.
Absolutely amazing that he took the time to do something like that. We thank Sir James Galway and Lady Jean Galway. All right, gang. We'll see you on the next one. Come see us again. We have so many more great guests coming up. And if you have some free time, binge watch all the great episodes. If you want to see this again with our very special guest, Rex Smith, joining us on the Jim Masters Show, be sure and check out our archives. And love it. And again, so many comments coming in here. And we thank you from everybody watching. Means the world to us. Jim Masters here saying we love you all. Come see us again. We'll keep the porch light on for you as well. Love doing these shows, hosting and producing them for you. Come see us again, and we'll keep it going together. Be well, everybody. Thanks again to Rex Smith, and to you, and you. See you on the next one, and cheers.